The story begins with a quick flashback about Rentaro, who has 100 soulmates, and how Rentaro gradually makes each soulmate his girlfriend. Currently, his harem is sitting at a solid 6 girlfriends. But one day, Hakari drops a truth bomb, claiming relationships usually hit a boredom wall after just 3 months. Fast forward to now, and the 3-month mark has arrived, sending the squad into a full-blown existential crisis. The girls are officially shook. Hakari is counting dates like a math geek, realizing she's only had 2 with the MC. Karen is straight up panicking, thinking Rentaro is about to get bored of her. And the rest of the group, same energy. Luckily, Hakari claims she's got a big brain plan to save the day. Enter Kusuri, who crashes the party with a reborn self-medicine she cooked up in the lab. She swears this juice will make Rentaro fall for them like it's day 1 all over again. But while she's mixing the sauce, the whole lab goes kaboom. Hearing the explosion, Rentaro sprints to the scene, fearing the worst. He's literally yelling that they haven't even finished the intro, and they're already causing mayhem. Then comes the ultimate twist. Everyone's souls have swapped bodies. Rentaro is stressing as the girls explain this massive fail. They admit the love potion experiment went south, and now they're stuck in a literal identity crisis. Rentaro steps up as the MVP to figure out who's trapped in whose skin. First up, Hakari wakes up in Nano's body, and she's got 0 coordination. She stumbles toward Rentaro like a total klutz, grabbing him just to stay upright. One touch and Rentaro instantly knows it's his girl Hakari. Meanwhile, Kusuri is living it up in Hakari's body, vibrating with energy. She's bouncing around until she feels a very sudden, very human urge. She forgets she's not an NPC and tries to go right there, thinking she's still in her diaper. Nano, stuck in Shizuka's tiny body, has to drag her to the bathroom before things get messy. And just like that, Rentaro clocks Kusuri in Hakari's frame. Next, he looks at Kusuri's actual body and sees Hakari rolling around on the floor, hyped as heck. She's loving the freedom of being in a new body to go wild. Rentaro doesn't even need a hint, that's definitely Hakari. Over on the other side, Karen is stuck in Hakari's body and it's a whole mood. She's low-key checking out her new assets before screaming at Rentaro for looking. That tsundere energy is a dead giveaway, it's Karen. Then there's Karen's body, which is acting way too calm and shy to be her. That sweet aura belongs to Shizuka, even if she can't find her words. Finally, process of elimination tells him Nano is piloting Shizuka's body. With the squad identified, Rentaro needs a fix and fast. But the girls are actually having a blast in their new forms. Suddenly, Hakari in the toddler body claims only a prince's kiss can break the curse. She pulls Rentaro into her lap like he's the pet, telling him he's been a good boy and deserves a treat. Before he can even process, she plants one on him. Boom, her soul gets ejected from Kusuri's body, leaving everyone shook. Next, Nano in Shizuka's body steps up to the plate. She tells him to lean down and keep it cool. She kisses him without a second thought, pure efficiency. And just like that, Nano's soul is out of the tiny body. Now it's Kusuri's turn to step up. She gets into Rentaro's personal space, acting a bit too comfortable. Since she's in Hakari's body, she can't stop admiring the curves she's rocking. Rentaro has to tell her to just get it over with already. She follows orders, kisses the MC, and her soul goes flying back home. Shizuka is next, looking absolutely terrified and asking if it's her turn. Rentaro is sweating bullets from all this action. Shizuka notices he's stressed, but he plays it off like a champ. He braces for impact as she kisses him, freeing Shizuka from Karen's body. Rentaro looks around, wondering who's left in this musical chairs game. Karen, still in the kid body, just wants this nightmare to end. Rentaro calls her cute, which only triggers her tsundere rage. She tries to walk away, but our boy stops her, asking for that one final reboot kiss. She turns into a total tomato and finally lets him kiss her. Karen's soul is officially back where it belongs. Finally, it's Hakari's time to shine. Stuck in Nano's body, she thinks this whole situation is peak romance. She pours her heart out to Rentaro with a look that could melt butter. Rentaro gives her a warm smile and seals the deal. And with that, everyone is back in their own skin. Mission accomplished. Once the dust settles, Rentaro finally takes a breath. The girls are buzzing with hype, while Rentaro is just standing there, winded. He's realizing he just snagged 6 kisses in record time, which is op even for him. Hakari asks how he liked their little experiment. Rentaro's response, it was actually kind of a blast. Hakari's relieved, it wasn't the plan, but it definitely made the day unforgettable. Rentaro drops the mic, telling them he loves them all exactly as they are. The girls lose it at the sweetness and dogpile him for even more kisses. Rentaro realizes fate is definitely not letting him off easy today. Switch to a new scene, a mysterious girl walking solo. Meanwhile, Rentaro is at the cafeteria, hunting for the perfect lunch. He spots some legendary egg toast and goes in for the kill. But just as he reaches out, he bumps hands with someone else. He looks up and locks eyes with a total stranger. Zap, the soulmate spark hits like a lightning bolt. Soulmate number 7 has entered the chat. But wait, Rentaro notices her uniform. She's a middle schooler. The girl gets defensive, basically saying there's no law against her being in the high school cafe. Rentaro, still buffering from the soulmate shock, tells her to go for it. But when she checks her pockets for cash, she's completely broke. Embarrassed, she does the classic anime retreat without the toast. Later, she's on a bench, and her stomach is screaming for help. She's upset, hungry, and out of luck. Suddenly, Rentaro appears like a lunch break hero with that same egg toast. He offers her half. The girl is instantly wary, thinking he's some kind of creep. But Rentaro plays it cool, saying he just felt like sharing instead of eating the whole thing. She tries to act tough, but her stomach growls so loud it basically gives her away. After a second, she finally gives in and takes a bite. She does a polite little itadakimasu before diving in. One bite and she's in food heaven, her face totally lighting up. She's savoring it, admitting she saw this food in a movie and just had to try it. She even apologizes for being a brat earlier, blaming it on the hanger. Rentaro is just glad she's eating. As she eats, she starts dropping lore about her life. She reveals she has an obsession with food that makes life a constant struggle. To cope, she wears a hoodie and headphones just to block out the sight and smell of snacks. But right now, she's ditched the gear to give the egg toast the respect it deserves. That's her foodie code. Once she's done, she says her thanks and gets ready to bounce. Rentaro calls out, trying to get her name. She gives him a look and accuses him of trying to slide into her DMs. But as she walks off, her heart is doing gymnastics. Next day, she's stomping through the halls, annoyed because everyone is hyping up some legendary sandwich. The hype is driving her cravings through the roof. She finally breaks and runs to the cafe, only to find they're already sold out. And guess who's there? Rentaro, asking if she's looking for the same thing. She's like, why are you even in the middle school building, bruh? Rentaro pulls the no rules card again and says he was hunting the sandwich too, but it's an L for him as well. He points out some other sandwiches, but she's not having it. She decides to go rogue and hit up a convenience store off campus. Rentaro reminds her that's against school rules and offers to be her delivery guy instead. She snaps at him, telling him to mind his own business. Later, we see her leaving the store, and it's another fail, no sandwiches anywhere. She's hungry, she's mad, and the world is against her. Total mood. She starts blaming herself for being such a grump and pushing everyone away. She feels like a loner and thinks she's basically the worst person ever. And then she thinks about Rentaro. He was actually being a real one, and she totally ghosted his kindness. Convinced she's a lost cause, she heads back to school. But standing at the gate is Rentaro, waiting for her like a boss. He tells her to follow him, and she's too curious to say no. He reveals the sandwich she's been dreaming of, and she's floored. She still tries to play it off, saying she doesn't need his charity. But Rentaro hits her with the "I need your help eating it" line again. The hunger wins. She starts eating, and it's a total flavor explosion. She asks where he even found it since it was sold out everywhere. Rentaro casually mentions he got permission to cook it himself. He even shows her the recipe, proving he's a literal chef for her. Then she sees his hands, they're all burned from the kitchen grind. She gets emotional, asking why he'd do all this for a girl who was so mean to him, especially when he doesn't even know her name yet. Later, Rentaro huddles up with the Harem to talk about Kurumi, the potential girlfriend number 7. The girls are a bit worried about her prickly personality. Rentaro explains that she's just hangry most of the time, and who isn't? But Kurumi interrupts, saying she's only interested in Rentaro and doesn't care about the rest of them. This creates some major friction in the squad. Nano, being the logic queen, says fighting is just a waste of time and energy. The group starts feeling a bit shaky, wondering if their bond is actually legit. But Nano saves the day, admitting she stays with them because she genuinely loves them, not just for efficiency. The girls are touched and the group hug is real. Then Rentaro drops the news. There's a massive food festival with a huge cash prize. He wants everyone to enter as a team. Kurumi is still on her lone wolf vibe, thinking small eaters will just hold her back. But Hahari points out that middle schoolers need a guardian to sign up. Kurumi's parents are busy, so she's stuck, until she asks Hahari to play mom. Hahari is all about it, and the team is officially registered. The food festival kicks off, and the hype is through the roof. The rules: 10 players, 5 rounds, highest score wins. Simple. The commentator is going extra with the visuals, keeping the crowd loud. Karen is already done with the announcer's energy. Rentaro is just here to make sure Kurumi feels like part of the family. Round 1 is a straight-up rice-eating contest. Sides don't count, it's all about the carbs. The goal is to clear as many bowls as humanly possible. It's a 10v10 battle royale across 5 rounds. Infinite substitutions are allowed, and whoever racks up the highest score takes home the glory. The announcer keeps yapping, throwing up fancy graphics to keep the crowd awake. Karen is just about ready to punch him. Rentaro joins the fray, hoping this team-building exercise forces Kurumi to finally vibe with the rest of the harem. Round 1 kicks off. The objective: devour a mountain of rice. Forget the side dishes, they're worth 0 points. It's all about that pure carb intake right now. So Kusari tries to buff the team's morale, but Hakari is worried that filling up her inventory now will debuff her later. However, Kurumi thinks she can 1v9 this lobby, arrogantly pushing the other support characters aside, which instantly triggers the squad, making Karen think Kurumi is calling them absolute trash tier. Rentaro has to step in to stop the friendly fire, hoping to force Kurumi into a co-op strategy, so he decides to nerf the pace and suggests they all play the objective together. The round kicks off, and while Rentaro starts grinding, he notices Kurumi is AFK, frozen in place without taking a single bite of the rice. He starts panicking until he realizes she's locking her target on a side dish, so his big brain creates a combo move, suggesting she mix the side loot with the main quest rice. This unlocks Kurumi's speed-eating passive, and she starts inhaling food, shocking the entire server with her DPS until they mistakenly think she already soloed the side dish, causing the whole party to laugh at what they think is a rookie mistake. This tilts Rentaro, who goes into rage mode demanding to know who laughed, forcing Hakari to try and de-aggro him while Karen steps in to tank the situation, asking Rentaro what his actual master plan is here. Rentaro simply tells them to spectate Kurumi's eating animation, and when they do, they realize her specialized build makes the food look absolutely god tier, which grants a hunger buff to the rest of the squad, sending them rushing for side dishes. Karen finally realizes this was Rentaro's 5D chess move all along to unite the team. As the rounds progress, Rentaro and Kurumi are clearing bowls like they're running a speedrun, tanking bowl after bowl without showing any signs of slowing down, leaving Karen amazed by Rentaro's bottomless storage capacity, while Nano calculates that he should logically be sick by now, and Hakari warns him not to crash his system. But Rentaro explains that since the girls are taking turns feeding him, the love flavor text makes every single bowl unique, which once again hits the girls with a massive wholesome critical hit. Empowered by the fluff, Rentaro and Kurumi accelerate, leaving the audience wondering if these two are actually monsters in human skins. Finally, round 1 concludes, and the leaderboard drops, placing Rentaro's team in 3rd, which is just enough to qualify for the next stage, leaving Rentaro tilted because he expected a better rank. But the girls are just hyping up Kurumi for her carry performance and unique eating style. The Guerrilla Syndicate claims the silver medal, a callback for the OG viewers, while the gold goes to Chanko Solo, who is literally playing solo queue. Everyone is stunned that this unit is clearing team content by themselves, mostly because Chanko looks and sounds like a low-poly robot with an animation style that totally clashes with the rest of the show. Next up, the announcer reveals the second stage is a classic eating contest featuring bubble tea, which makes Rentaro question when bubble tea became a classic, but he needs to select a champion for this round. So Hakari suggests he takes a bench warmer seat to recover stamina, but Kurumi stubbornly declares she's going to play every single lane. Rentaro warns her that she's going to run out of mana if she doesn't rotate, but Kurumi completely ignores the shot calling and locks in anyway. Eventually, Shizuka decides to tag in as support, and as the round starts, the participants begin downing the boba, but after 10 minutes the meta shifts. This isn't an appetite check, it's a jaw endurance test. The tapioca is so insanely chewy that everyone's jaw muscles are failing, and as Kurumi starts hitting her limit, she notices Shizuka is drinking with 0 issues, making Karen wonder if Shizuka is secretly hacking. Rentaro explains that Shizuka's small mouth passive is the key, allowing her to take microsips and swallow efficiently without chewing, proving she has been unknowingly min-maxing for this exact event her whole life. Recognizing the strat, the team secures second place for the round, leading us into the third stage, the sushi eating challenge. This time Nano tags in to assist Kurumi, and while Kurumi wants to savor the flavor, Rentaro reminds her this is a speedrun, not a food blog. But as Kurumi struggles to speed up, she notices Nano is operating at machine speed, literally unhinging her jaw and swallowing the sushi whole like a python. Nano and Chanko Solo are neck and neck for the finish, but Chanko snipes the last piece just a second faster, and suddenly Nano stops, revealing that she's completely full and on the verge of a system crash vomit. With the Gorilla Syndicate closing the gap, Nano realizes she has to clutch up, so she grabs the sushi and literally runs away from the table, parkering up the stage stairs while everyone wonders what her pathing is. Rentaro realizes the danger. Nano has a massive debuff against heights, but she tanks the fear, standing at the top to force the swallow, eating the final piece, while the crowd cheers for her like she's Rapunzel in the tower. However, now that the adrenaline is gone, she's stuck and terrified, so Rentaro has to speed climb and rescue his princess, securing yet another second-place finish for the squad. Round 3 brings the heat with spicy Mapo tofu, and this is where Karen shines, using her Tsundia spice tolerance to absolutely carry the team, aggressive eating her way to their first gold medal of the event. Then comes the fourth round, Cake, where Hakari and Hahari finally tag in, but they instantly panic about the excessive calorie debuff ruining their figures. Their fear is contagious, causing the Gorilla Syndicate to literally stop eating, until Karen drops the logic bomb that sugar goes straight to the chest area, which instantly motivates the Hahari duo to resume eating to max out their assets for Rentaro. They take second place again, and Rentaro is glowing with pride, crediting their success to the vague but op power of love, while Kurumi is just sitting there confused, wondering what kind of broken mechanic that is. Rentaro then acts as the team healer, massaging everyone's stomachs to buff their digestion, promising Kurumi that once the team is healed, she'll feel the buff too. The final boss round arrives, the ramen eating challenge. Chanko Solo is leading, but it's a double-point round, so it's still anyone's game. But Rentaro's team is wiped out, leaving Kurumi to 1v1 the lobby. Rentaro apologizes for being unable to assist, but Kurumi acts tough, claiming she never needed the carry anyway, and starts strong while the Gorilla Syndicate is struggling to stay alive. The gorilla leader refuses to surrender, delivering a shonen-style speech that temporarily revives her team with the power of spirit, allowing them to re-enter the match mid-game. But reality hits hard, and an ambulance is called immediately, permanently eliminating the gorillas from the bracket. Now it's a duel, Kurumi versus Chanko Solo, both hitting 10 bowls deep. But here comes the plot twist. Chanko Solo isn't a human, it's a mecha suit piloted by a cheetah who is stashing the food in a hidden inventory. Unaware of the hacks, Kurumi pushes to 25 bowls but starts hitting her limit. While the robot taunts her for her poor stamina management, Kurumi's mental breaks, realizing she can't solo this boss, regretting that she didn't trust her teammates earlier. And just as she starts to cry, the Rentaro squad rises up like the Avengers. Rentaro exploits a loophole in the rules, allowing them to join. And when Kurumi apologizes for her toxicity, they brush it off because friendship is the ultimate meta. With the power of love buff active, Kurumi gets back in the fight, scaring the Chanko pilots so much that they disable their cheats and start eating for real. It's a total eating frenzy until everyone starts dropping like flies, passing out from the carb overload. With 5 seconds on the clock, Kurumi digs deep for one last play, and after Rentaro whispers some encouragement, she feeds the final noodles directly to Rentaro, securing the victory. Chanko Solo crashes and burns, and Team Rentaro takes home the trophy and the ice cream loot. Kurumi finally makes amends, and the team feeds her ice cream, solidifying their bond. Later in the park, Kurumi thanks Rentaro for the invite and claims her real prize. A kiss to taste if Rentaro is as sweet as he acts. But the wholesome vibes don't last, because Hahari is about to make things weird. Usually the icon of elegance, she completely breaks character, trying to force Hakari's friends into baby clothes because her maternal instincts are glitching out. Rentaro tries to tank the humiliation to keep her happy, but his hitbox is way too big for the outfit, so Hahari suggests a babification potion to shrink his stats. Kusari, of course, has that exact item in her inventory, plus a cure. But the girls refuse to debuff themselves for this fetish, causing Hahari to throw a massive tantrum on the floor. This strategy backfires, leaving zero stomach space for the final boss. Kurumi accepts defeat, realizing she played herself. She regrets doubting the squad's gluttony stats and feels like she completely failed our MC. Her motivation tanks and the tears start flowing. Suddenly, Rentaro and the girls pull up to the table like true homies. Kurumi is stunned, asking why they're boosting her. Rentaro exploits a loophole in the rules and tells her to let them handle the heavy lifting. Kurumi breaks down, apologizing for her toxicity earlier, but the girls say it's water under the bridge, friends help friends. Our MC declares it's the most OP ability of all, the power of love. With her morale restored, Kurumi realizes she messed up and rejoins the grind alongside them. The solo player sees this comeback happening and starts sweating bullets. Desperate for the W, the pilot ditches the cheats and starts inhaling ramen manually. The eating contest goes nuclear, but the carb coma hits and players start dropping like flies. 5 seconds left, Kurumi digs deep, determined to clutch this win. Rentaro whispers a secret trigger phrase in her ear. Kurumi looks terrified at first, but then steals her resolve. She straight up force feeds the ramen to Rentaro, and our MC hoovers it down. The Chanko solo bot can't handle the heat, malfunctioning into a massive L and securing the Rentaro family's dub. The squad goes wild, celebrating their victory, flexing their new trophy and a mountain of prize ice cream. Kurumi, realizing she was being a bit toxic earlier, drops a heartfelt apology and begs the group for forgiveness. The girls aren't even mad, cheerfully feeding her ice cream and solidifying their bond as a true OP team. Later that night, Rentaro meets up with Kurumi at the park for some 1v1 time. She thanks him for the invite, admitting she finally feels like she's part of the group's inner circle. Then she brings up the promise. Rentaro said she could taste her favorite treat if they won. She catches him off guard with a kiss and teases that Rentaro's flavor is actually her favorite. Now Hahari always thought her mom, Hahari, was the definition of girl boss grace and elegance. But today, that elegant image gets absolutely nuked as Hahari starts obsessing over the girls, trying to force them into literal baby clothes. Hahari is cringing so hard, she's practically vibrating with embarrassment. Trying to be the ultimate wingman for his girl's mom, Rentaro tries to squeeze into the baby gear, but the MC is way too buff for that. Hahari isn't giving up though. She suggests everyone take some babification medicine to fit the aesthetic. Kusari backs her up, casually mentioning she's got a reversal juice, ready if things get too weird. The girls are still hitting that X to doubt, not wanting to turn into literal infants for Hahari's weird hobby. When they refuse, Hahari loses her mind, throwing a full-blown toddler tantrum on the floor. And finally, Hahari has seen enough and snaps at her mom's midlife crisis, scolding Hahari for embarrassing her like a noob in a ranked lobby. But Hahari tries to tank the aggro by claiming Hahari is her #1 drop, completely missing the point that she's making the whole server awkward with her antics. Unfortunately, this defense buff does nothing to lower Hahari's stress levels, so sensing the toxic vibes, Kusari decides to distract the chat by playing fetch with a stray cat. But instead of a stick, she accidentally yeets a vial of babification juice. The cat dodges the projectile, and the vial smashes on the ground, causing the loot to release a glowing, ominous owie cloud. Rentaro quickly blocks the damage for Hahari, shielding her from the blast. But as the smoke clears, they realize the rest of the squad has been nerfed into literal babies. Rentaro immediately covers his eyes, realizing that seeing his girlfriends in their birthday suits is a bannable offense. So he and Hahari speedrun the dressing process to keep the content family-friendly. While they grind the childcare quest, Hahari starts fantasizing about unlocking the marriage achievement, getting all flustered about spawning her own guild of mini Rentaros. But our MC is too busy simping over the chibi versions of his wafers to notice her thirst. Rentaro checks the patch notes and sees the cure has a 1-hour cooldown timer, so he tries to equip baby Shizuka, but she crawls away like he's a terrifying raid boss, forcing him to catch her and promise he's not going to consume her for XP. Meanwhile, baby Karumi's hunger meter hits absolute zero, so she locks onto Hahari's massive assets and attempts to feed. Hahari tries to peel her off, but the grapple mechanic is too strong, leaving her stunned by the sheer audacity of this hunger pang. Rentaro wants to assist, but he spots baby Nano trying to glitch out the exit door, and when he rushes to stop the escape attempt, she counters with a lethal eye poke. sending our MC into a stagger animation from the friendly fire. Meanwhile, Kusari tries to speedrun the cure by drinking the reversal potion early. But Rentaro ignores his eye damage and interrupts her cast just in time, dragging her back to safety before sprinting after a runaway Shizuka. Hakari is under attack too, as baby Karen tries to loot her chest for milk, sparking a PvP match with Karumi over the resource, and soon they're throwing hands. Hakari uses her shout command to stop the fight, but it just triggers the crying status effect. And while she struggles to calm them, baby Hahari climbs her back, pulling her hair like a joystick and maxing out Hakari's stress meter. Suddenly, Hahari offers a wholesome head pat, but the other babies start thrashing, forcing Hakari to drop the loot, but Rentaro dives in like a pro goalkeeper to make the save. The near-death experience instantly flips their mood from crying to laughing, and Rentaro realizes his pain is their content, so he starts spamming the faceplant emote, wrecking his own face repeatedly just to keep the babies entertained until they finally run out of stamina and enter sleep mode. The chaos finally settles, leaving Rentaro looking like he went 10 rounds with a boss. So Hakari patches up his damaged textures while he continues to dote on the sleeping squad. Holding her sleeping mom, Hakari wonders if raising her was a hardcore difficulty quest, but Rentaro reveals Hahari always saw her as the ultimate loot drop, unlocking a core memory for Hakari, making her realize her mom was actually a top-tier player all along. The timer finally hits 0 and everyone respawns as adults, but Hahari is depressed she missed the baby event, while the girls roast her for having the mental stats of a toddler anyway. Hakari apologizes for her earlier toxicity while the girls stare at her chest, and after a heartfelt exchange, Hakari encourages her mom to keep being her chaotic self, reminding her that this guild is a safe space for her weirdness. Hahari is touched by the speech, but then Kusari reveals she has 1 potion charge left, so Hahari instantly reverts to gremlin mode, wanting to babyfy everyone again, making Hakari regret her wholesome speech. Later, the guild gathers to farm cookies and boost morale, sparking a conversation about how high-res everyone's eye textures are, likening them to gemstones, with Rentaro spamming "I love you all" in the chat like a true simp. But then the chat realizes Mei has been playing with her eyes closed the entire game. So Kusari asks her to toggle them open, but Mei refuses, citing her maid class restrictions require a permanent smile to serve her mistress. Hahari gives admin permission, but Mei's face mesh is apparently locked, and when she tries to manually force them open, it doesn't work. So she grabs a scalpel to mod her own face, forcing the squad to physically restrain her. They wonder how she navigates without vision, but Mei reveals she's basically Daredevil, proving it by catching a falling flower pot with 0 latency. Shizuka tries to jump scare her into opening her eyes, but Mei doesn't even flinch, leaving Shizuka embarrassed, so Rentaro fake reacts to save her from the cringe. Nano takes it to the next level, pulling a cutter to fake stab Mei. But even with a blade at her throat, Mei just thanks Hahari for the experience, proving her loyalty stat is broken, while Shizuka cries thinking it was real PvP. They try feeding her high-tier food, but that doesn't work either, so they ask what triggers her happiness, and Mei reveals her happiness is linked solely to Hahari's joy meter. Hakari suggests Karen seduce Hahari to spike the happiness levels, and Karen actually gets close, noticing Hahari smells like top-tier waifu material. But Hakari gets jealous and slap cancels the action, though Mei sheds a tear of joy anyway. Finally, Rentaro decides to spec into the comedian class, hoping a good joke will glitch her eyes open. The scene shifts to a peaceful afternoon, where Rentaro is just vibing with his girlfriends, and Karumi is beaming after receiving a sweet treat. Hakari teases her, commenting on how Karumi's eyes sparkle with delight with each bite. But embarrassed, Karumi deflects, insisting that Nano and Shizuka have better graphics. This sparks a wave of compliments among the girls, praising each other's eye textures like they're gemstones. Rentaro enthusiastically agrees from the background, proclaiming his love for all their eyes. But when Hahari compliments Mei's eyes, the mood shifts, because the group suddenly realizes that none of them have ever actually seen Mei's eyes open. Mei, with her serving smile, has kept this detail a total mystery. Shizuka asks what color Mei's eyes are, and Hahari remarks that they are rainbow-colored. Kusari, unable to resist the curiosity, asks Mei to stop smiling and open her eyes. Mei, however, politely refuses, stating that as a maid she must always appear cheerful. Hahari gives Mei permission to open her eyes, mentioning that even she hasn't seen them in a long time. But when Mei tries, she finds her muscles unresponsive. Her face is literally stuck in a smile. Determined, she attempts to force her eyes open using her fingers, but her efforts prove futile. With no other option, Mei excuses herself and announces she will find a scalpel to cut them open. Alarmed, Rentaro and Hahari immediately intervene, begging her to stop the self-harm. The group begins to wonder how Mei manages to navigate daily life with her eyes shut. Mei explains that she relies on her other senses to perform her duties like a ninja. A flower pot suddenly falls from above, and Mei catches it just before it hits Rentaro. Rentaro expresses his gratitude, calling Mei incredible for her sharp awareness. Shizuka, inspired, attempts to scare Mei by shouting, "Boo!" Unfortunately, no one reacts, leaving Shizuka red-faced with embarrassment. Rentaro notices her intent and pretends to be frightened, prompting the others to realize Shizuka's plan to startle Mei. Kusari, still curious, pulls out a test tube of melting face medicine. Mei offers to spray it on herself if it would please Hahari, but Hahari quickly declines. Next, Nano steps forward with the cutter and reveals its blade, making everyone nervous. Standing beside Mei, she pretends to stab her, eliciting a vow of gratitude from Mei to Hahari. The group is momentarily horrified, but Nano reveals the blade was retracted all along. While everyone else breathes a sigh of relief, Shizuka begins to cry, believing Mei is genuinely hurt. Karumi even offers Mei a sweet bun, hoping that the delight would make her eyes snap open. Mei eats the bun after receiving Hahari's permission and comments on how delightful it is. Kurumi, disappointed her plan didn't work, laments that happiness didn't physically open her eyes. Karen points out that such a reaction is normal. Rentaro and Hakari consider happiness as a potential trigger and ask Mei what makes her happy. Mei replies that her happiness stems from seeing Hahari happy. Hahari adds that her own happiness comes from being surrounded by the family they built together. Hakari gets an idea and suggests Karen cozy up to Hahari, joking that she can't do it herself. Though hesitant at first, Karen notices Hahari has the same warm, inviting scent as Hakari. Just as the two are about to share a kiss, Hakari slaps Karen away, much to Hahari's dismay. Kusari and Shizuka hurry to comfort her, making her so happy that Mei sheds a tear of joy. Finally, Rentaro decides to try humor. Hoping laughter will glitch Mei's eyes open, he tries to drop a big brain teaser, but fumbles the punchline so hard that Mimimi can't help but laugh. However, her eye textures remain completely locked. But when Rentaro drops the law that Hahari was actually the one who failed the brain teaser, Mei instantly drops her smile and her eyes snap wide open, revealing some absolute god-tier rainbow-colored eyes. But the second she realizes she broke character, she forcefully shuts them again, leaving the whole server amazed that Rentaro actually found the trigger. He explains that Mei's loyalty stat to Hahari is so maxed out that she literally cannot laugh at her master's expense. Noticing Mei blushing super hard, Hahari teases that she might have just caught feelings for our MC, and the rest of the guild totally hypes him up, encouraging Mei to officially join the party. After a bit of hesitation, Mei finally drops her heartfelt confession on Rentaro, hoping to officially become a main character. And following that massive lore drop, Mei spawns at Rentaro's base bright and early the next morning to fulfill her new quest, acting as his personal maid for the day. This whole event was actually orchestrated by Hahari to give them some solo co-op time. And Rentaro, though sweating bullets, sees this as the perfect chance to grind some relationship exp with his new waifu. Wanting to let her pick the questline, Rentaro asks Mei what kind of event she wants to run, but her devoted maid, Passive, triggers instantly, and she literally turns the car around to speed back to Hahari to serve her. Rentaro hits the brakes on that idea, reminding her that today's daily quest is specifically about doing literally anything else. Mei processes the dialogue, recalculates her route, and decides she'll just serve Rentaro instead, pulling a U-turn back to his spawn point. Rentaro finally realizes Mei literally has zero programming for self-care. So after some heavy coaxing, they finally drive away from their bases, desperately trying to invent a fun side quest. Since Mei's decision-making skills are practically zero, Rentaro surprises her by fast traveling to a cherry blossom park, guiding her through a lively food stall zone, hoping the high-res environment will cure her debuff. To force her to drop the maid act, he issues an impossible fetch quest: cook a full homemade meal in exactly 60 seconds, assuming she'll just rage quit the task and enjoy the festival with him. But to his absolute shock, Mei uses a teleport skill, vanishing and respawning exactly 1 minute later with a legendary tier bento box. Rentaro's brain completely short-circuits as he asks how she pulled off those speedrun strats, and Mei gets super embarrassed, confessing she actually crafted the item early this morning, hoping the RNG would let her serve it to him. Even though she planned to let him free roam the food stalls, her inner maid programming just wouldn't let her miss the assist. Taking massive emotional damage from the wholesome play, Rentaro takes a bite of the egg roll and confirms it's an S tier drop, especially since he notices the entire bento is specifically tailored to his favorite egg-based food meta. Mei admits she actually pulled Hahari's data files to learn his preferences before the quest even started, which totally melts his heart. But despite the wholesome vibes, Mei is still fidgeting like crazy, her idle animation totally broken. Rentaro asks what's causing the glitch, and she shyly trauma dumps that if she isn't actively running a command, she gets a massive anxiety debuff, getting super flustered and hinting that he could issue literally any command, even one involving some physical co-op action. Rentaro, completely dodging the spicy hint, enters panic mode, not wanting to abuse his admin privileges, so he quick thinks and spots a cherry blossom branch, commanding her to fetch it just so he can hold the flowers. Mei instantly completes the fetch quest and returns to base, immediately requesting the next objective. And that's when it finally hits Rentaro. He literally just played fetch with his girlfriend like she's a dog. A massive wave of guilt hits him for a critical strike, making him feel like the most toxic player on the server for giving such a trash command. Trying to salvage his karma, Rentaro aggressively alters his playstyle, and instead of treating Mei like an NPC, he commands her to yeet the branch as far as her strength stat allows. Once she throws it, he literally runs the fetch quest himself, bringing it back to her to balance out the power dynamic. But Mei's permanent smile starts to glitch out, because watching her master run a fetch quest completely breaks her internal logic engine. She's totally stun-locked, completely unable to process why she isn't allowed to carry the team, and desperately begs for a real quest objective, but Rentaro stands his ground, demanding she finally put herself first instead of dedicating her entire playthrough to being a support character. Mei literally cannot comprehend this concept, firmly believing that without an active quest to serve, her existence is basically a bug. Seeing that her devotion stat is completely unyielding, Rentaro realizes he has to change his strat, and finally caves, agreeing to give her an official command. Mei's face instantly lights up with pure joy, practically wagging an invisible tail at the thought of finally getting a quest. But Rentaro totally blindsides her with a massive curveball, commanding her to actively be completely useless to him. Her hyped energy instantly flatlines into pure dread, looking like her entire operating system just blue-screened. She obeys the command with terrified silence, just sitting there completely paralyzed, terrified of accidentally doing something helpful. After a while, Rentaro accidentally drops the worst possible line, admitting that just having her nearby gives him a massive comfort buff, which directly violates the be useless command. Determined to actually complete the quest, she stands up and starts backing away, slowly increasing the distance until she literally walks all the way back to Hahari's base, convinced she finally successfully avoided being helpful. Hahari is totally confused by this random spawn at her base, but right as Mei thinks she's safe, Hahari hands her a ringing phone and it's Rentaro calling. The absolute second she hears his voice, her victory screen shatters, because Rentaro drops the nuke that her absence is just making him think about her more, meaning she is still actively giving him a buff. This logic loop completely breaks Mei's sanity, making her realize that no matter what she does, she cannot escape being top tier. Hahari, thoroughly confused but sensing the bad vibes, commands Mei to fast travel back to Rentaro. Once they rendezvous back at the Cherry Blossom Park, Mei drops some incredibly dark dialogue, stating that the only logical way to clear the Be Useless quest is to literally delete her own save file. A heavy silence drops over the server before Rentaro finally responds to this insane take, agreeing that yes, if she logged off permanently, she wouldn't be useful anymore. But he absolutely refuses to accept that bad ending. He counters with the ultimate truth bomb. Her mere existence is an S-tier buff that brings joy to the whole guild. This dialogue unlocks a deeply hidden lore memory for Mei, flashing back to when Hahari originally found her with 1 HP and a broken spirit, and how Hahari healed her by giving her warmth and proving she wasn't just a trash mob. Now with Rentaro dropping those same god-tier healing words, he locks in the romance by confessing he loves her, and that her presence alone is the ultimate blessing. Getting hit with this massive emotional crit makes Mei absolutely glow with happiness, acting like a hyper-golden retriever ready for action, while Rentaro desperately tries to establish that they need to run a co-op build based on mutual respect. Fast forward to the next school day, and Rentaro officially introduces Mei to the rest of his massively op harem. The other girls aren't even shocked, basically treating her arrival like an expected patch update. Hahari, absolutely losing her mind over Mei being an official party member, immediately drops a massive loot box full of maid costumes for everyone. Karen, playing her usual tsundere role, instantly rejects the item drop. But the millisecond Rentaro mentions he'd love to see the new skins, she instantly equips the outfit without a second thought. The entire squad spawns in rocking their new made skins, sending Rentaro's hype levels through the roof. Hakari, Kusari, and Shizuka even go full roleplay, dropping a perfect maid cafe welcome sequence that hits him right in the feels. The girls are having a blast inspecting the new gear, wondering how real maids manage to keep these massive hitboxes completely clean during combat. Sensing an opportunity for chaos, Hahari launches a surprise PvP event, a massive water gun battle royale, secretly hoping to see the new skins get soaked. The rules are simple. Last player standing with a dry hitbox wins the ultimate prize, a kiss from Rentaro. The mere mention of that legendary loot instantly turns the wholesome guild into a sweaty competitive lobby, with everyone out for blood. Rentaro tries to nerf the stakes, protesting that he wants to kiss everyone regardless of who wins. But his logical dialogue is completely ignored as the battle lust takes over. Rentaro equips a butler skin, looking absolutely dapper, which just buffs the girls' aggression stats even higher as they stare at his new model. The whistle blows and the battle royale officially begins. Karen opens with an aggressive push, instantly locking onto Mei since she sees her as the final boss of the maid meta. She spams her attacks, but Mei's evasion stat is maxed out, effortlessly dodging the barrage and firing back. Karen quickly realizes she's pinned down, totally trapped in a bad position with zero cover. Kusari instantly third-parties the fight, sniping Karen and officially eliminating her from the match. But while Kusari is busy emoting over her kill, she completely ignores her minimap and misses Nano lining up a headshot. A second later, Kusari gets absolutely blasted, while Hahari is just standing there grinning like a maniac at the sight of two soaked maid skins. Hahari starts spamming her camera shutter, trying to secure some new wallpaper drops, but Kurumi pushes her flank, determined to shut down Hahari's toxic gameplay. However, Hahari is always running a 5D chess build, and she tactically eats a red bean bun straight at Kurumi. Unable to resist her gluttony debuff, Kurumi drops her weapon to catch the loot, getting absolutely blasted by a water beam and eliminated on the spot. With Kurumi sent back to the lobby, Nano pushes the advantage and charges Hahari, but Mei intercepts the push with a massive block, forcing a 1v1 showdown. The two engage in an insanely high-level duel, looking like pro esports players warming up for grand finals. Realizing Mei's defense is too op, Nano tactical retreats and shifts her aggro to Shizuka. Seeing Nano rush her down, Shizuka goes into full panic mode, spamming random shots and praying to the RNG gods. Nano moves in for the point-blank execution, but suddenly takes critical damage from an unknown source. The entire lobby is absolutely stunned by the kill feed. Realizing one of Shizuka's completely random stray shots somehow landed a massive headshot, Kurumi walks over to hype up Shizuka's insane luck stat, but then notices Shizuka's character model is also completely soaked. Apparently, the recoil from her own panic fire managed to splash her, resulting in a double KO. Accepting their double elimination, the two pose for a screenshot, while Mei scans the battlefield to assess the remaining players. The HUD shows only 3 players left, Mei, Hahari, and Hakari. But Hakari pulls an absolute rat strat, perfectly stealthing behind her mother and aiming her weapon point blank. Hakari reveals she's been camping the entire match, saving her ammo and letting the sweaty players wipe each other out. Using her mom as a meat shield, she drops a brutal ultimatum. Mei has to self-destruct if she wants to keep Hahari safe. Mei, ever the loyal support, raises her weapon to take the L, but right before she fires, Hahari pulls the ultimate sacrifice play and shoots herself. By eliminating her own hitbox, she clears the sightline, allowing Mei to instantly blast Hakari. Hakari, now totally drenched, hits an exaggerated victory pose anyway, absolutely thriving with her new wet shirt skin. Karen immediately goes into tsundere mode, accusing her of enjoying the wet look, a bit too much for a normal NPC. And even though Rentaro offers to duo with her, she insists he escort the rest of the party home instead. The next morning, the girls are suffering major debuffs from muscle soreness, dreading the next training session. But as they pass the field, they freeze in horror. Iku is still there, eyes glazed over in pure bliss, swinging her bat like an NPC stuck in a loop. It's like she never despawned, so the squad rushes over to investigate, realizing she's been grinding all night without a single rest. Finally, her stamina bar hits 0, and she sways unsteadily before crashing toward the ground. But Rentaro dives in with a clutch save, catching her just before impact. They drag her to the infirmary spawn point, terrified that she pushed her durability way past the limit. We know she has the masochist trait, but this feels more like self-destruction than pleasure farming. Rentaro senses a deeper plot hook driving her, but he can't quite figure out the quest objective yet. The school bell rings, and Hahari takes command, ordering everyone back to class while Iku recovers. Later that afternoon, Iku wakes up and instantly tries to speedrun out of the infirmary, totally unaware Hahari is camping under the bed. Rentaro walks in at the same time, surprised to see her up and moving, trying to convince her to rest, but Iku refuses, insisting she needs to grind more levels if they want to win. As Rentaro listens, he unlocks the realization she never planned for a team co-op. She intended to solo carry the entire match, using the others just to fill the lobby slots. When she tries to force her way out, Rentaro reminds her that skipping the tutorial, class, is against the rules. He then reveals he's been exploiting the bathroom break mechanic every 5 minutes just to check on her, chugging a liter of water each time to make his bladder align with the lie. But knowing she's going to try and solo grind again tonight, he concocts a ridiculous strategy. He plans to inflict the frozen debuff on himself with ice water until he passes out, forcing Iku to switch roles and take care of him instead. As predicted, practice ends, and Iku refuses to log off. Just as Rentaro starts stripping to execute his ice bath plan, the rest of the squad approaches Iku, declaring they're staying to grind with her. Hahari admits to spying and reveals the whole team feels guilty for letting Iku carry the burden alone, promising to actually learn the game mechanics instead of relying on her to 1v9 the match. Rentaro is deeply moved by this unity, but then the girls notice he is inexplicably half-naked. He tells them to ignore the glitch, and instead rallies them for a group cheer to boost morale. After a 2-week training montage, Rentaro's squad is hyped for the big game. They've leveled up significantly, and Rentaro even recruited the KK sisters to fill the remaining slots. But disaster strikes right at kickoff. Rentaro gets a DM that all 3 sisters have the sick status effect and can't join the lobby. Meanwhile, the opposing team, Jurassic University, is getting a pep talk, where their coach promises a legendary barbecue loot drop if they win. The promise of food instantly buffs the Jurassic team's motivation stats to the max. Short on players, Rentaro nervously asks the opposing coach if he can sub in Hahari, Kurumi, and Mei. And the coach agrees, saving Rentaro from a forfeit. The match starts and Iku takes the mound, throwing strikes with lethal precision and shutting down the first batter. The Jurassic team starts sweating about their barbecue, but then they recognize Iku from middle school, remembering a specific incident that might be her fatal weakness. Confidence restored, they get ready to exploit the meta. Rentaro's team switches to offense, and Karen steps up, swinging with maximum confidence. She connects, but the force of the pitch literally shatters her bat, sending the ball straight into the umpire's glove for an out. Karen stares at her broken weapon in disbelief, realizing the enemy pitcher is absolutely broken. The umpire, Rapko, grins and introduces their pitcher, Sorko, boasting that they are the double dynamite destiny duo, a name so cringe it annoys Karen instantly. Unable to score, Karen rotates out, leaving Iku as the next batter. But to everyone's shock, Iku doesn't even attempt to swing. Her determination is gone, and Rapko watches with amusement, knowing exactly why. But suddenly, Iku's eyes ignite with fire, and she readies herself for the next pitch. Sensing the shift, Rapko signals Sorko to unleash her ultimate attack. The ball flies in at supersonic speed, and Iku forces a swing at the last second, but the impact brutally twists her wrist, causing her to drop the bat in pain while Rapko smirks like a villain. Rentaro rushes to check her HP, and the team realizes she has to switch roles. Nano steps up to pitch, moving Iku to right field and Shizuka to second base. This formation change lets Jurassic University dominate the field, overwhelming Rentaro's squad with relentless offense, and when Rentaro's team bats again, they get absolutely walled by Sorko's Tyranno Cannon pitch. The score gap widens, frustration sets in, and Iku starts blaming herself for being a liability. But Rentaro refuses to surrender, urging the team to focus on defense instead of chasing points. Meanwhile, Jurassic University is already mentally eating their victory barbecue, but Rapko remains focused, targeting Shizuka as the weakest link to exploit. She slides next to Shizuka, whispering toxic trash talk to shatter her confidence, planting the idea that Shizuka is the sole reason her team is losing. The psychological warfare works, sending Shizuka into a spiral of doubt. Caught in her head, Shizuka lags in real time when the ball comes her way. Her teammates scramble, but when she finally grabs the ball, her hesitation leads to a massive misplay throw. Realizing her error just cost the team major points, she freezes in horror. Rentaro's team barely manages to secure 3 outs, swapping to defense, where Shizuka starts apologizing profusely, convinced she's dragging the raid down. But Kusari reveals she saw Rapko's toxic behavior earlier, exposing the enemy's dirty tactic. This revelation enrages the squad, fueling a collective protective rage mode. Fueled by anger, Karen steps up to bat with murderous intent as Rapko continues the trash talk. She channels all her frustration into one swing, connecting with Sorko's pitch and blasting it into orbit for a legendary home run. One by one, the rest of the team follows the momentum. Hakari executes a perfect bunt, catching the defense sleeping, and soon the bases are loading up thanks to Rentaro's bizarre but effective strategy guide. Switching to defense, they sub Mayan as pitcher, and her unpredictable, zigzagging throws completely confuse the enemy batters. Meanwhile, Iku is chilling her injured hand in ice water, determined to respawn into the match. Rapko can't believe this ragtag team is refusing to surrender. Rentaro steps forward, radiating an intense Super Saiyan aura. Declaring their power comes from love, officially dubbing them Super GF Saiyans. With momentum shifting, Kusari in her adult form steps up to bat, bunting the Tyranno cannon perfectly. Just as she's about to be tagged out, she transforms into her Chibai form, reducing her hitbox to slip onto the base safely. Hahari follows up, motivated by the promise of a kiss from Karen, but she trips on the way to first base. Luckily, her massive assets land on the padding, securing her safety. As the game reaches its climax, Shizuka steps up to the plate. Rapko smirks, confident the weakest link will choke again without her needing to interfere. The trauma lingers, but Shizuka closes her eyes, remembering Rentaro's buffs. When the pitch flies in, she hugs her bat, steadying it to tank the hit. Managing to make contact and sending the ball flying, she dashes for first base, and Rapko throws the ball expecting an easy out. But the first baseman is momentarily stunned watching Shizuka's tiny frame sprint. Since they are total noobs, Rentaro starts with simple catch drills, playfully calling out Kusari for equipping way too many gloves. Karen partners with Hahari and notices Hahari's physics are exaggerated. A surge of jealousy washes over Karen about her own lack of curves. So to vent her rage, she throws the ball at Hahari with lethal force. Meanwhile, Kusari and Nano are casually tossing the ball with zero effort, and things aren't going well for Hakari and Kurumi either. Hakari keeps blocking the ball with her chest instead of her hands, while Kurumi gets distracted because the baseball reminds her of chocolate snacks, and before she realizes it, she catches the ball with her mouth. Mei pairs up with Shizuka and gently rolls the ball on the ground to avoid damaging the small girl. With catch practice turning into a disaster, Rentaro switches the activity to swing practice, but Kusari is dual-wielding bats because she thinks it looks cooler. Karen is treating hers like a murder weapon, while Kurumi looks at her bat like it's a giant breadstick. Shizuka, on the other hand, starts spinning like a Beyblade when she swings. The sight is too cute for Hahari, who grabs Hakari and spins her around in excitement. Finally, Rentaro and Iku manage to guide the chaos into proper form, ending the night exhausted but leveled up. The squad is ready to clock out and relax, but they notice Iku is still out there grinding, swinging her bat like a pro. And even though Rentaro offers to stay behind as support, she demands he escorts the rest of the guild home. But the next morning, as the squad walks to school, everyone is complaining about muscle debuffs and absolutely dreading today's practice run, until they pass the field and completely freeze, spotting Iku with completely glazed over eyes, relentlessly swinging her bat like a broken NPC, making it look like she literally never left her spawn point. And as the realization hits, they rush over to confirm the glitch, learning that Iku actually never logged off to rest and had been grinding the exact same animation all night long, until her stamina bar finally hits zero, causing her to sway violently before she collapses, forcing Rentaro to dive in and catch her right before she takes full damage, rushing her straight to the infirmary, completely horrified that she pushed her HP this deep into the red. And while they already knew she had the masochist trait equipped, this level of self-destruction feels way too extreme. leaving Rentaro sensing there's a hidden law reason driving her, even if he hasn't unlocked the backstory yet. As the school bell rings to start the next phase, Hahari takes charge as the guild mom, ordering everyone to head to class since Iku is safe in the recovery zone. But later that afternoon, Iku wakes up and immediately tries to break out of the infirmary, completely unaware that Hahari is literally stealth camping under her bed. Right as Rentaro walks in, totally shocked to see Iku already out of bed, desperately trying to convince her to stay and regenerate her health, but Iku aggressively refuses, claiming she needs to max out her practice stats if they want to win the upcoming event. And listening to her dialogue, Rentaro suddenly connects the dots, realizing Iku never actually expected her teammates to deal any damage, and was secretly planning to solo carry the entire match, only needing the others to meet the minimum roster requirement. So when she tries to push past him, Rentaro blocks her path, reminding her that class is still active, meaning the practice field is locked anyway, confessing that he's been abusing the bathroom break excuse every 5 minutes just to check her vitals. And to keep his alibi solid, he's been chugging a literal liter of water every time, ensuring his bladder actually backs up the lie. But he knows her AI loop will just make her insist on staying behind again tonight. So to forcefully cancel her overworking routine, he crafts an absolutely ridiculous counter-strat, planning to dump ice water on himself to trigger a cold debuff and pass out, forcing Iku to drop everything to heal him instead. And exactly as predicted, when practice ends, Iku refuses to leave the zone. But just as Rentaro starts unequipping his gear to execute his freeze plan, the rest of the girls swarm Iku, declaring they are staying to grind alongside her, with Hahari admitting she was spying from the shadows and revealing the whole party feels guilty for letting Iku tank all the pressure, promising to actually focus on their training arc and level up their skills instead of relying on a solo carry. A massive display of guild unity that deeply moves Rentaro, until the girls suddenly notice he's standing there half naked, prompting him to quickly tell them to ignore the glitch, pivoting the awkward moment into a massive team cheer to buff their morale and lock in their commitment to the grind. Fast forward 2 weeks of hardcore training montage, and Rentaro's squad is fully hyped for the actual baseball match, and even though their base stats still aren't close to Iku's level, their teamwork is maxed out and ready to go, with Rentaro even recruiting the Kaka sisters as NPCs to fill out the remaining team slots. But right before the event starts, Rentaro gets hit with a devastating notification, learning that all 3 Kaka sisters caught a sickness debuff and won't be spawning in. Meanwhile, the enemy faction, Jurassic University, is getting a hardcore pre-match speech from their coach, who demands they treat this practice round like a ranked match, dropping the ultimate motivation buff by promising an epic barbecue feast if they secure the W, which instantly triggers the Jurassic team's hunger drive, sending them onto the field completely fired up. So with his party short on members, Rentaro nervously approaches the enemy coach, begging for permission to tag in Hahari, Kurumi, and Mei to fill the empty slots. And after a tense pause, the coach hits accept, letting Rentaro's squad breathe a massive sigh of relief. As the match officially starts, Jurassic University takes the offensive while Rentaro's team drops into defense, with Iku stepping up to the mound, throwing absolute laser beams to strike out the first batter instantly, making the Jurassic team sweat as they realize their precious barbecue loot is actually in danger. But as they queue up their next batter, a few of the Jurassic players recognize Iku's character model from middle school, unlocking a piece of hidden lore, specifically remembering a past incident that might just act as a perfect exploit to win the game, causing their confidence to spike back up as they refocus on the match. And after 3 quick outs, it's finally time for Rentaro's squad to play offense, with Karen stepping up to the plate, fully charged with Tsundia confidence, swinging hard at the first pitch and actually making contact, but the kinetic energy of the throw is so op, it completely shatters her bat into pieces, sending the ball straight into the umpire's glove, leaving Karen staring at her empty hands, completely mind-blown by the impossible power scaling of that pitch, as the umpire Rapo smirks and hypes up their ace pitcher Sorko, announcing themselves as the Double Dino Destiny Duo, a cringe title that pushes Karen's rage meter to the limit. But despite the anger buff, she fails to score, leaving Iku as the next one up. Except to Rentaro's absolute shock, Iku completely freezes and doesn't even attempt to swing at the ball, with all the usual fire in her eyes totally extinguished, while Rapo watches from behind the plate with a toxic smirk, knowing exactly what trauma debuff is keeping Iku locked down. until a sudden spark of determination forces Iku to break the stun and ready her stance for the next throw. But Rappo instantly catches the shift and signals Sorko, ordering her to throw an ultimate max power pitch, sending the ball hurtling toward Iku at breakneck speed. And at the very last frame, Iku forces herself to swing, but the collision is absolutely brutal, twisting her wrist with a sickening crunch that makes her drop the bat in agonizing pain, letting a villainous smirk spread across Rappo's face as her plan works perfectly, while Rentaro instantly abandons the dugout to rush to Iku's side. And after a rapid HP check, the team realizes she's too damaged to pitch, forcing a massive roster swap, moving Nano to the pitcher's mound to cover the loss, shifting Iku to the outfield and forcing Shizuka to defend second base. But this sudden formation change completely breaks their synergy, allowing Jurassic University to steamroll their defense. And even when Rentaro's squad gets back on offense, they get completely shut down by Sorko's unhittable Tyranno cannon pitch. Watching the scoreboard gap widen as massive frustration starts poisoning the team's morale, with Iku taking massive emotional damage, fully convinced her injury is the sole reason they are losing. But Rentaro refuses to let the run die, hyping the team up and reminding them the game isn't over, ordering them to stop worrying about DPS and focus purely on solidifying their defense to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, the Jurassic team is already celebrating early, completely distracted by the hype of their incoming barbecue loot. But Rappo stays locked in, shifting her toxic radar straight onto Shizuka, immediately identifying her as the weakest link and plotting to exploit her low confidence stats. So as the next round kicks off, Rappo creeps up near Shizuka and starts spamming psychological attacks, planting the toxic idea that Shizuka is the anchor dragging the whole team down, preying hard on her insecurities. And the verbal debuff hits critical, sending Shizuka's mind spiraling into a panic. So when the ball is suddenly launched her way, she's completely stun-locked and fails the quick time event, causing the rest of the team to scramble. And when she finally grabs the ball, her hesitation makes her throw it in the completely wrong direction. And the second it leaves her hand, a sinking dread washes over her, believing her misplays are single-handedly throwing the match. But despite the massive fumble, Rentaro's squad clutches the play, securing 3 outs and forcing Jurassic back on defense. And as they regroup, checking on Shizuka instantly becomes the main objective, while she spam apologizes, completely crushed by the guilt of dragging them down, until Kusari speaks up, revealing she caught Rappo casting those verbal debuffs earlier, a revelation that instantly ignites the team's rage mode, triggering a massive protective instinct over their wholesome teammate. And fueled by pure anger, they march back onto the field with lethal resolve, with Karen stepping up to the plate first, gripping the bat with killing intent while Rappo continues to talk trash, channeling all her Tsundia fury as she braces for Sorko's ultimate pitch. And the exact second the ball hits the bat, she unleashes a critical strike that yeets the ball completely out of the park, scoring a massive home run that leaves the Jurassic team completely stunned. And with the momentum shifting, the rest of the guild starts popping off, with Hakari dropping a flawless bunt to catch the defense lagging. The momentum is insane as the girls keep clearing bases, all thanks to Rentaro's weirdly op-coaching strategies from the sidelines. And as the tension peaks, Rentaro pulls a Galaxy Brain move, swapping Iku out for Mei as their new pitcher, whose erratic, zigzagging throws completely break the hitboxes, leaving the Jurassic batters swinging at ghosts. Meanwhile, Iku is chilling with her hand plunged in ice water, desperately trying to speedrun her recovery to get back in the fight, while Rappo watches in absolute disbelief that Rentaro's squad refuses to hit the game over screen, completely failing to understand what kind of hidden buffs they are using, until Rentaro steps forward, radiating an aura so god-tier it literally mimics a certain Super Saiyan from a legendary anime, boldly declaring that their insane stats are powered by pure, concentrated love, officially dubbing them the Super GF Saiyans. And riding that massive hype wave, the team pushes closer to the final victory, with Kusari, currently rocking her fully aged-up avatar, stepping to the plate while the squad screams support, perfectly executing a bunt on the Tyranno cannon pitch and sprinting for first base. But just as the enemy moves in to tag her out, she instantly shrinks back into her Chibai form, completely dodging the hitbox and landing safely on the base, followed by Hahari, who lands a flawless bunt only because Hakari promised her a kiss from Karen if she succeeded. But in her blinding excitement, she completely fumbles her movement mechanics and trips hard, luckily surviving because her massive chest assets land directly on the base padding, securing her spot. And as the final boss phase approaches, Shizuka steps up to the plate, with Rappo flashing a toxic smile, 100% confident the weakest link will strike out without any extra sabotage. And even though the trauma of her last mistake is still draining her confidence, Shizuka closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and replays Rentaro's wholesome buffs in her head. So when Sorko unleashes her ultimate pitch, Shizuka hugs the bat to her chest, knowing the AI always aims dead center and perfectly positions herself to tank it, holding her ground until the exact moment of impact, sending the ball rocketing into the field. And without wasting a single frame, she bolts toward first base, prompting Rappo to instantly toss the ball to her teammate for what should be an easy out. But the first baseman is completely stun-locked, completely mesmerized by the sight of Shizuka sprinting for her life. There's something about her tearful determination that hits the fielder right in the feels, reminding her of a lost pet puppy, which hits her with a massive emotional debuff, blurring her vision so bad she drops the catch. This critical failure lets Shizuka speedrun to first base safely, and the fielder, still crying over her dog, literally hugs Shizuka instead of tagging her out. Rappo shakes off the sentiment, realizing Rentaro's squad is one home run away from stealing the game. But seeing Iku up next gives her a massive sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Rentaro's team is hype training Iku, banking on her to carry the final round. And fueled by the buffs, Iku confidently promises to end this match. But as she approaches the plate, Rentaro senses a disturbance in the force and stops her, noticing her usual masochistic confidence is replaced by genuine tension. Her body language is screaming fear status effect, so Rentaro demands to know if she's actually okay. Iku looks away, realizing he saw right through her armor, admitting she has PTSD from a past game where her home run accidentally sniped a girl in the stands. That memory haunts her every time she equips a bat. But despite the fear debuff, she swears she'll land the hit this time. She owes it to her teammates for carrying her this far. Seeing her resolve, the girls erupt in cheers, buffing her morale to the max. As Iku steps up, Rappo is still smug, betting she'll freeze up again. And sure enough, the first pitch triggers a flashback that throws off her timing, resulting in a foul ball. The second pitch comes in, and even with more confidence, she fouls again. Determined to purge the fear, Iku tightens her grip for the final showdown. Rappo decides to end it here, signaling Sorko to unleash her ultimate move, risking everyone's safety for that barbecue loot. Sorko throws the Tyranno cannon with max power, screaming through the air like a missile. Iku connects, but the impact is so heavy it nearly knocks her back, and the force literally disintegrates her uniform, stripping her down to her underwear. The fan service shock momentarily stuns her, letting doubt creep back in. But just as she's about to crumble, Rentaro's voice cuts through the chaos, promising to catch the ball no matter what. His support acts as an instant cleanse, and Iku swings with everything she has, launching the ball into orbit. It clears the fence for a legendary home run, and Rentaro, true to his word, tanks the catch at full force. The impact rips his clothes off too, leaving them both in their underwear as the victors. Rentaro's team has officially won the match. The girls explode with joy, and Iku sprints toward Rentaro, who is desperately trying not to stare at her lack of armor. Unfazed, she plants a victory kiss on him, declaring her love to the whole server. Later, the squad hits a Yakiniku spot to celebrate the W, with Kurumi finally getting her feast, and even the Jurassic team joins in since their coach is footing the bill. The player who trash-talked Shizuka earlier is now simping for her, and even Rappo is feeling the wholesome vibes. Fast forward to a rare day off, Rentaro and the Harem are enjoying a break in town, completely missing a stunning blonde NPC walking by who turns every head on the street. Their focus is locked on their own party as they head to a karaoke bar. Once in the private room, Karen grabs the mic first, belting out a fiery track that perfectly matches her tsundere energy. Hakari follows up with a romantic ballad, charming everyone with her soft vocals, and then Iku shocks the room with S-tier singing stats, proving she's not just a musclehead. Hahari turns up the heat with a mature, sultry track, flexing her adult charm over the younger girls. Kurumi drops a high-energy banger that sounds suspiciously like an anime opening, while Kusari picks a cute commercial jingle, overloading the room with adorableness. Nano's turn is less singing and more of a robotic recitation, but Mei steals the show with a full idol performance. However, Shizuka is hesitating in the corner, holding back from the mic. She excuses herself to refill her drink, quietly singing alone. But Rentaro overhears her and gets super hyped. Caught, Shizuka admits she loves singing, but is terrified of a bad ending if she performs publicly. Rentaro reassures her that the family would love to hear her voice, triggering a change of heart in Shizuka. She realizes she's only focused on the fear, not the desire to sing, so she decides to push past the anxiety for just one song. Unbeknownst to them, Kusari has secretly deployed an experimental, cuteness-boosting drug into the air, hoping to buff her own reception. But to her shock, Shizuka steps up to the mic instead. The room goes silent as Shizuka's delicate voice begins to blend with the melody. And at that exact moment, Kusari's drug hits peak effectiveness. The combo of Shizuka's singing and the drug creates a cuteness nuke, sending shockwaves that literally KO most of the squad against the wall. Kurumi tries to pet Shizuka, but gets yeeted across the room by the sheer force of the cute energy. Kusari suggests using an ear-disintegrating potion to block the sound, but Karen refuses to melt her ears and demands a real antidote. Kusari tries to deploy the cure, but the cuteness overload makes her drop the vial, shattering it uselessly. Karen and Rentaro are the only ones left standing. Desperate, Karen uses Hahari as a meat shield, admitting she wants Rentaro's babies in the panic. Hahari tries to announce this confession, causing Karen to flush red and get blasted into the wall. Now the sole survivor, Rentaro pushes forward to stop the song, but another chorus hits, sending him flying into the pile of bodies. Struggling to rise, he realizes if Shizuka turns around and sees she knocked everyone out, she'll be traumatized. Thinking fast, he decides to counter the cuteness by singing along with her. Hearing his voice, Shizuka is surprised but thrilled to share a duet. And as they sing in unison, completely unaware of the carnage behind them, the collective emotion of the waking girls blows a literal hole in the wall. They start falling out of the building, but Rentaro launches himself like a superhero, catching them and landing safely on a nearby roof. On another day off, Rentaro is scouting a mall for date spots when a stunning blonde girl catches his eye in the chat logs. She's busy bragging to herself about being prettier than the mall display. Totally unaware, Rentaro is standing right there. Their eyes lock, triggering the soulmate effect instantly. Recovering first, the blonde grabs his hand, declaring he has the privilege of being her lover. Rentaro tries to explain his harem situation, but she steamrolls him, introducing herself as Mimimi and declaring she will refine his appearance to match her beauty. She drags him into a high-end boutique, transforming him into an all-white suited, platinum blonde host character. Staring at the mirror, he realizes he looks like a male version of Nano. The transformation cost is insane, but Rentaro pays it, thinking his girlfriends might like the new skin. They grab bubble tea, where Mimimi claims tapioca enhances beauty, but refuses the chocolate drink to protect her outfit. Rentaro notices everyone staring at them, but Mimimi brushes it off, saying it's natural for commoners to stare at royalty. She then brags about her beauty regime, claiming she spends her entire life optimizing her looks. But Rentaro notices a small cut on her finger and patches it up with a bandage, which flusters Mimimi, making her realize he's not just a prop, but a caring main character. She then drops the law that she actually hates the concept of natural beauty, revealing she was once outshined by a girl who didn't even try, which traumatized her into working harder than anyone else. Rentaro realizes she's talking about Nano, connecting the dots on why she picked this specific look for him. The next day at school, Mimimi spots Nano and instantly challenges her to a beauty duel. Rentaro tries to mediate, but the rivalry is already heated. Mimimi challenges Nano to a modeling contest to prove hard work beats natural talent. Nano accepts purely out of logic, and the battle begins. Mimimi strikes pose after pose, dazzling the crowd with her practiced elegance, while Nano just stands there effortlessly, radiating natural beauty that drives Mimimi insane. But Rentaro interrupts, declaring that both are estia in their own way. She keeps it real though, admitting there was once a girl whose beauty was on a whole different level. An image of Nano flashes across Rentaro's HUD, but he quickly dismisses the thought. Meanwhile, a random NPC couple starts throwing toxic glares from across the cafe. The girlfriend's jealousy meter is maxing out over Mimimi's main character energy, while her boyfriend tries to cope by claiming Mimimi's stats are just pay to win, saying her beauty is entirely built on expensive gear and makeup. Rentaro overhears the trash talk and instantly aggros to defend Mimimi, but she blocks his action with a casual wave. She drops a massive truth bomb, explaining that casuals always mistake high-tier beauty for just expensive skins. She proudly flexes her grind set, revealing she farms her own gold, runs a daily skincare raid, maxes her physical stats, and perfectly tunes her dialogue options, all to maintain her rank as the absolute pinnacle of elegance. Her unshakable boss aura only tilts the couple even more. The boyfriend, completely stun-locked by her logic, resorts to a cheap griefing tactic, trying to splash his drink to ruin her flawless armor. But Rentaro's reaction speed is god tier, and he uses his jacket as a shield, tanking the AoE damage right before it hits her. This triggers a massive chaotic event, spawning the cafe's security NPC, and the boyfriend instantly rage quits the area, sprinting away with security in hot pursuit. Mimimi is left absolutely stunned by Rentaro's tanking play, but the RNG gods aren't done yet. The griefer accidentally paths right back to them. In a perfect moment of karma, he slips on his own spilled hazard and enters a falling animation. But before his HP hits 0, Rentaro clutch grabs his jacket, cancelling the fall damage. Instead of dropping toxic dialogue, Rentaro shows massive empathy, assuring the guy he understands the urge to buff his girlfriend's pride. These wholesome words land a critical emotional hit, completely cleansing the boyfriend's toxicity and prompting a sincere apology. To clear his PK status, he even offers to drop enough gold to cover Rentaro's ruined gear. As the NPCs despawn, Mimimi suddenly reaches over and unequips Rentaro's wig. She inspects his base model and declares his original skin is perfect exactly as it is. His internal stats are already maxed out in beauty. She apologizes for trying to force him into a different class, admitting she was just dealing with an anxiety debuff. Summoning all her courage, she drops her ultimate move and confesses her love. She officially sends a party invite, asking to be his permanent co-op partner. Rentaro takes the emotional hit, but nervously drops the law that his party already has 9 active members. If she joins the guild, she'll be player number 10. Instead of rage quitting, Mimimi finds the milestone number weirdly satisfying, and instantly accepts the terms of service without a single complaint. But right on cue, a familiar voice enters the chat. Rentaro spins his camera to see Nano and Shizuka loading into the zone. He hypes up the encounter, excited to introduce Mimimi to his veteran party members. But before the dialogue box even opens, Mimimi's expression shifts into pure hostility. Her rage meter spikes, realizing Nano is the exact same boss who outscaled her beauty stats and humiliated her in the past. Rentaro is stun-locked, realizing his earlier theory was 100% accurate. Mimimi absolutely refuses to join any guild where Nano is on the roster, refusing to share the lobby. However, her loyalty to Rentaro is already locked in, so she won't abandon the party either. Determined to claim the top spot, she initiates a PvP duel for Nano's slot in the family. If she wins the match, Nano gets permanently banned from the guild. To settle the feud, she challenges Nano to a beauty search minigame. Rentaro's brain completely blue screens at this insane prompt, fully expecting Nano to reject the duel invite since she usually skips trivial side quests. But to his absolute shock, Nano hits accept instantly. Shizuka is just standing there like a confused NPC, completely lost as the aggro levels skyrocket. Flashback to the middle school arc. During a server-wide beauty pageant, Mimimi was absolutely convinced she'd secure the victory royale. But to her absolute devastation, the MVP title was awarded to Nano, a player who literally joined the event by accident. Even though the RNG felt totally rigged, Mimimi accepted the L, believing true high-tier beauty speaks for itself. Instead of turning toxic, she offered Nano a friend request, hoping to duo queue in their pursuit of elegance. But Nano ruthlessly rejected the invite with zero hesitation. Without dropping a single line of dialogue, Nano exited the stage, leaving Mimimi completely stun-locked and broken. Back in the present, Mimimi initiates the beauty search duel to decide who gets to keep their save file in Rentaro's family. The rules of the minigame are simple. They take turns scanning Rentaro's girlfriends to identify high-tier beauty traits. If Rentaro, acting as the referee, validates the trait as truly beautiful, they score a point, and the highest score wins the match. Karen's logic processor totally fails to understand this game mode, protesting that this is a garbage way to handle guild management. But Mimimi claims it's an officially sanctioned esport recognized by the Church of Beauty, forcing the match to start before Karen can hit the cancel button. Karen is the first target, and both Nano and Mimimi spam her with massive compliment buffs, completely overloading Karen's Tsundia meter. The scanning phase moves through Hahari, Kurumi, Mei, Kusuri, Iku, and Hakari, with everyone receiving massive ego boosts. By the end of Hakari's phase, Nano pulls ahead on the leaderboard, and Hakari calculates that Nano is guaranteed to win the next round. The next target is Shizuka, and since Nano has maxed out relationship points with her, it looks like an easy GG. As soon as Shizuka's turn starts, Nano quickly locks in her answer, calling her shy and quiet nature irresistibly op. But referee Rentaro throws a red flag, denying the point because those traits are classed as cute, not beautiful. Mimimi instantly capitalizes on the misplay, identifying that Shizuka's long skirt is both elegant and perfectly abides by the server's dress code, locking in a valid beauty point. Nano tries to quick recover, but accidentally spams another cute dialogue option. She drops to her knees, taking massive emotional damage as she realizes her perception is permanently locked onto Shizuka's adorable stats. This critical error costs her the round, tying up the scoreboard and forcing a sudden death tiebreaker. Rentaro is sweating bullets looking at the HUD, desperately hoping to hack a good ending where both girls stay. The final target is Rentaro himself, and Mei swaps in as the referee since he obviously can't judge his own stats. The round kicks off, and Mimimi instantly speedruns a compliment, targeting his thick, op eyebrows as a beauty trait. Mei processes the request and prepares to award the point, but to everyone's absolute horror, Rentaro has already speed-shaved his eyebrows off, completely deleting the hitbox. Nano then tries to clutch the point by praising his pristine, high-durability uniform, but the absolute second she says it, Rentaro violently rips his own gear to shreds, instantly invalidating the stat. Both girls are totally confused by his self-sabotage gameplay, but refuse to surrender, continuously spamming new compliments. Yet every single time they lock in a trait, Rentaro aggressively alters his character model to ensure neither of them can score. By the end of the timer, the score remains perfectly tied, and Rentaro looks like a customized monstrosity from a character creator gone wrong. He forces an end to the minigame, revealing the scoreboard is locked in a dead heat. And since the rules dictate a tie, neither player is getting banned from the server. Hakari, spectating from the sidelines, realizes Rentaro's big brain strat. He manipulated the entire match to force a draw. He literally tanked his own appearance stats just to guarantee nobody got kicked from the guild. While the rest of the party celebrates the save, Mimimi is absolutely tilted. To a competitive player like her, a draw is exactly the same as an L. Furious at the rigged RNG, she turns to log off, completely rejecting the outcome. But before she can fast travel away, Nano steps up and initiates dialogue, apologizing for her toxic behavior back in the middle school arc. Mimimi, however, refuses the apology prompt, convinced Nano is still the same ice-cold NPC who rejected her friend request. But Nano insists her character arc has progressed significantly since joining Rentaro's guild. She drops a massive emotional monologue, explaining that Rentaro and the party taught her how to process emotions like love, joy, and companionship, stats she used to think were completely useless. She admits she finally understands the friendly fire damage she caused in the past, and genuinely regrets her actions. Nano reaches out and firmly grabs Mimimi's hand, sending a brand new friend request. At that exact moment, Mimimi's HUD flashes back to the traumatic pageant memory, reliving the moment Nano walked away. But this time the cutscene alters, showing an alternate ending where Nano turns back and smiles, accepting the party invite. As she snaps back to reality, she reads Nano's genuine expression and remembers her original quest objective for entering Nano into that contest. She had always admired Nano's high-tier stats from afar and hoped the PvP event would force an interaction so they could finally co-op. Realizing she no longer needs to hold onto her grudge debuff, Mimimi hits accept on Nano's friend request. The rest of the guild watches the wholesome cutscene play out, the aggro finally dropping to 0 as they celebrate the family staying intact. The next day, Rentaro gathers the council and formally requests admin approval to officially add Mimimi to the roster. The girls are absolutely hyped, having already farmed massive relationship points with Mimimi after she spammed them with compliment buffs during the duel. Without a single hesitation, the vote passes unanimously, successfully locking in the new party member. Mimimi, buzzing with max energy, immediately assigns herself a new main quest, upgrading the entire guild's beauty stats to the absolute level cap. She declares they are going to become the most visually op squad in the game. Without even asking for consent, she deploys a massive makeup kit and initiates a makeover QuickTime event on Kusuri. The result is absolutely staggering, leaving the whole server stunned as Kusuri checks her new high-res textures in the mirror. To complete the build, Mimimi commands Kusuri to execute a longing stare emote. Kusuri tries to trigger the animation, but her facial rigging glitches out, contorting into a completely cursed, comical expression instead of an elegant one. While analyzing this failure, Mimimi scans the rest of the harem and realizes they are all already naturally min-maxed in the beauty category. Just then, Rentaro spawns into the room, dropping a warm greeting in the chat. Kusari instantly uses her dash skill to tackle hug him, absolutely beaming when he praises her new skin, and even lands a critical kiss right on his lips. Mimimi's mind is completely blown watching the girls spam Rentaro with affection emotes, showing zero hesitation in their co-op romance. Suddenly, she remembers a hidden game mechanic rumor: kissing your partner actively generates a beauty hormone buff, permanently increasing your charm stats. The realization hits her like a truck. This relentless affection spam is the actual secret behind their broken beauty scaling. Without wasting a frame, Mimimi drops a server-wide mandate. To maintain their peak aesthetics, everyone must continuously farm kisses from Rentaro. Rentaro gets completely stun-locked by this insane new daily quest, having zero idea how to counter it. But the rest of the guild immediately hits the hype button, absolutely thrilled by a meta that requires them to aggressively kiss their MC to gain stats. To ensure he doesn't reject the patch update, Hahari and Hakri trigger their dramatic tears emotes, guilt-tripping him by saying their hearts will shatter if he denies the quest. Their performance is flawless, the ultimate fake-it-till-you-make-it play. Rentaro takes massive emotional damage and reluctantly accepts the new daily quest. Kusari instantly capitalizes on the moment, pulling out a custom-crafted lip balm infused with a beauty hormone multiplier drug. Without hesitation, Nano equips the lip balm and goes straight in for the kiss. The absolute second their hitboxes connect, a massive wave of heat floods Nano's system. The Euphoria buff is way too op, completely overloading her sensory stats. Unable to tank the sheer pleasure, she breaks the kiss and her character model literally collapses to the floor. Shizuka is absolutely stunned, having never seen the usually stoic Nano get stun-locked like this. And the debuff isn't one-sided. Rentaro is panting like he just finished a boss fight, and seeing how broken the drug is, Kusari excitedly applies the buff and jumps in for her turn. But the second she makes contact, the pleasure shockwave is so intense her bladder control stat drops to 0. Completely intoxicated by the kiss, she loses control of her avatar and actually wets herself. Kusari freezes in absolute horror, breaking the fourth wall to apologize to the viewers for the cursed content. Kurumi quickly changes the subject, helping Mei apply the item so she can take her turn. When Mei lands the kiss, the jolt of pleasure is so strong her maid programming forces her into a perfectly obedient sitting animation. Wanting to test the meta, Hahari eagerly steals a quick kiss, but the moment the drug hits her system, an excited shiver runs down her spine. Unable to contain her chaotic energy, she instantly unequips all her gear down to her black lace underwear. Hakri and Karen, already predicting this degenerate behavior, tackle her to the ground, forcing her pants back on and dragging her away from the MC. Meanwhile, Iku shyly steps into the zone and requests her turn. As soon as they connect, the sensory overload hits her like a truck. Unlike the others who just collapsed, Iku tries to tank it standing up. Her legs are vibrating so violently that Mei has to step in and physically support her to prevent fall damage. Karen, sticking to her Tsundia class, loudly protests that she's skipping this event. But Rentaro immediately spots the lip balm buff already active on her lips, proving she was totally prepping for it. Calling her bluff, Rentaro swoops in for the strike. The moment they kiss, Karen's emotions go critical. She instinctively grapples him with max strength, hugging him so hard a loud crack echoes through the room, confirming Rentaro's spine just took critical damage. He drops to the floor the second she releases him, leaving Karen horrified that she might have accidentally PK'd him. While he's stun-locked on the ground, Kurumi steps up for her turn. Despite being the youngest player, she passionately locks lips with Rentaro, but they quickly cancel the animation when they notice Shizuka awkwardly spectating. Determined to spread the exp evenly, Rentaro turns and gently kisses Shizuka. The lip balm activates instantly. Shizuka, usually super grounded, feels so lightheaded that her gravity physics completely turn off. The squad watches in absolute shock as she literally floats toward the ceiling like a balloon, forcing Nano to execute a jump grab to secure her before she drifts out of bounds. Hakari is up next, and she initiates the kiss with absolute max effort, but the intensity completely overloads her system. Her brain short-circuits, resulting in a dramatic rocket-powered nosebleed. The recoil literally launches her across the room. Dazed and confused, she mistakes Karen checking on her for Rentaro. Without thinking, she lunges for another kiss. Hahari shrieks with joy and starts spamming the screenshot button at light speed. Finally, it's Mimimi's turn. She steps forward with total confidence and presses her lips to Rentaro's. This is a massive lore milestone, her very first kiss. The buff hits her instantly, and she can physically feel her character model upgrading as the beauty hormones flood her system. Convinced this is the ultimate exploit for infinite beauty scaling, she commands the guild to farm kisses non-stop. By the end of the grind session, the girls look so gorgeous they seem like they're rendered in a different anime, while Rentaro looks like a drained husk. Meanwhile, in a totally random cutscene shift, scientists in an Arctic lab are sweating over some terrifying data. The monitors show a catastrophic event approaching. Solar activity is plummeting at a record-breaking pace. One scientist drops some meta lore, pointing out that in this specific anime, cherry blossoms bloom way later than normal. If this server-wide debuff continues, Earth is headed straight for an ice age expansion. Back to the main plot. Rentaro reads the patch notes about the impending apocalypse and starts stressing about the future. Later on the rooftop, the squad immediately notices his anxiety debuff. Kusuri completely misreads the situation, assuming he's depressed because he shaved his head and eyebrows during the beauty duel. Trying to be the MVP, Kusuri pulls out a newly crafted hair regrowth potion to fix his messed up textures. Hahari suggests they turn this into a fun side quest, letting everyone experiment with new hairstyles since Kusuri has infinite respawns for hair. Mei steps up as the designated stylist, ready to flex her maid skills. She starts on Mimimi, who is absolutely terrified because Mei is literally styling with her eyes closed. But one by one, the girls get their makeovers, rocking stunning new character designs. Rentaro is absolutely stunned by how top-tier his harem looks. Hahari, loving her new look, gets curious about what she'd look like with max-length hair. Without thinking, she grabs Kusuri's test tube and chugs the entire potion in one go. Kusuri's eyes go wide with absolute horror, realizing Hahari just consumed a massive overdose of an untested, experimental beta build. The glitch happens instantly. Her hair rapidly expands, taking on a life of its own and forming a massive cocoon around her model. Mei rushes in to free her master, but the hair aggroes, lashing out like a whip. Rentaro quick dashes, grabbing Mei and pulling her out of the AoE just in time. But during the dodge roll, he botches the landing and twists his ankle, taking mobility damage. The sentient hair launches another AoE attack, forcing the party to tactical retreat inside the building. Kusuri drops the terrifying lore. The potion didn't just buff hair growth, it completely overrode Hahari's cognitive AI. With no logic circuits left, the hair is now acting purely on Hahari's deepest, most primal desires. Hakari, knowing her mom's search history, instantly deduces the horrifying reality. If the hair is fueled by Hahari's subconscious, it's absolutely going to turn this into a tentacle event. As they frantically try to plan a counterattack, disaster strikes. Kurumi's survival instincts kick in, alerting the party before she tries to dodge. But her evasion is too low and she gets snared. At first, the hair's grip seems gentle, just petting her like an innocent interaction. But the wholesome act doesn't last. The tendrils escalate, their touches getting way too suggestive for a PG-13 rating. The rest of the squad nopes out instantly, sprinting away to avoid the same fate. Their panic running aggroes the school principal, who storms over ready to drop a massive discipline debuff on them. But before she can even speak, a monstrous wave of hair bursts through a classroom door. Kusuri, taking responsibility for the bad potion craft, makes a heroic sacrifice. She intentionally tanks the grapple, letting herself get captured to buy the party time to escape. The tentacles instantly wrap her up, squeezing and caressing her model. Even while trapped, Kusuri screams for the others to keep running. They try to flee, but more tentacles spawn from a flank route, snaring Hakari. Karen grabs her, trying to break the grapple check, but Hakari screams in pain, begging Karen to let go before her arm gets dislocated. Forced to release her, Karen watches as the tentacles plunge into Hakari, aggressively exploring her character model. Rentaro and the survivors push forward, refusing to be taken alive. But when they reach the courtyard, they witness an apocalyptic scene. Hahari's hair has expanded past the school limits, trapping random NPC students everywhere. They sprint for Hahari's car, hoping to use it as a fast travel escape vehicle. But the engine revs and goes nowhere. The rear tires are completely immobilized by the hair mass. Acting fast, Iku and Karen jump out and use brute force to push the car free. With max effort, they break the root effect, allowing the car to accelerate. But Karen refuses to leave Iku behind. She demands Iku hand over her bat and brace herself. Before Iku can even process the command, Karen uses a charged swing right on Iku's butt, launching her through the air like a baseball onto the car's roof. But the end lag of her swing leaves Karen vulnerable, and she is instantly yanked away by the tentacles. May slams the gas, but as they speed toward the exit, a massive wall of hair slithers in to block the gate. Realizing they're trapped, Iku makes the ultimate sacrifice play, jumping off to hold back the advancing hair with her bare hands. The tentacles immediately overwhelm her, lifting her into the air and spreading her limbs wide while the car escapes. Hahari's hair has breached the town limits, capturing female NPCs on every street. The entire server is in chaos as players scramble to avoid the expanding nightmare. May grips the wheel, desperately drifting through the ruined streets. With options running out, they spot a massive skyscraper in the distance. It's their only viable safe zone. Arriving at the building, Shizuka cooks up a massive brain strat, commanding the others to look away before chugging the cuteness drug Kusari gave her earlier, instantly sprouting bunny ears to max out her charm stats. This insane buff acts as a massive aggro draw, pulling all of Hahari's hair toward her. With the boss distracted, Nano, Rentaro, and Mimimi use the opening to speed dash toward the rooftop. Once inside, they realize the elevators are disabled, meaning they have to grind the stairs all the way to the top. Since Rentaro still has the injured ankle debuff, Nano and Mimimi literally carry him up, refusing to leave their MC behind. Finally breaching the roof, Rentaro looks out over the edge and sees absolute devastation. Hahari's hair has completely consumed the map, spreading beyond the town and threatening to crash the entire world server. A news reporter NPC tries to stream the apocalypse from another roof, but gets snatched by the tentacles mid-broadcast. Her cameraman is totally stun-locked, unsure if he should drop the camera or keep farming views off this degenerate event. Seeing the hair aggro toward their rooftop, Nano readies her blade and Mimimi equips her brush, ready to defend their MC to the death. The tentacles strike, and the girls launch a flawless counterattack, parrying and slicing the invasive hair with max precision. Rentaro is stuck in spectator mode, taking massive emotional damage, knowing his injured stats make him completely useless in this raid. But suddenly, the boss shifts its aggro directly onto him. Nano and Mimimi try to body block the attack, but the hair's grapple hitbox is way too large, catching them both. Suspended in midair and totally immobilized, they struggle against the restraints while Rentaro watches in absolute horror. Just when the game over screen seems inevitable, a helicopter spawns overhead. Mei and Shizuka clutch up, having hijacked Hahari's chopper, and drop a lifeline for Rentaro. Shizuka used her bunny ear radar to perfectly navigate the chaotic airspace, securing this legendary save. Rentaro tries to pull Nano and Mimimi onto the chopper, but they refuse the rescue, commanding him to save himself. They know he's the only one with the plot armor needed to stop Hahari's rampage. The tentacles tighten, fully trapping the duo and giving Rentaro's crew the opening to fly away. Mid-flight, Rentaro drops a crazy objective marker. He demands to be dropped right back at the school, straight into the boss room. He is fully locked in, determined to end this server-crashing event. Meanwhile, Hahari is still AFK, completely trapped inside her own ultimate attack. Hovering over ground zero, Rentaro assures Mei and Shizuka that he won't take lethal damage. Convinced Hahari's subconscious programming won't allow friendly fire against him, with zero hesitation, he executes a leap of faith right into the swirling abyss, knowing he has to reach her core to cancel the attack. But the moment he drops, massive tendrils snare him midair, dragging him deep into the suffocating darkness. Inside the void, a hidden NPC spawns. It's the spirit of Hahari's former lover. The ghost spectates Rentaro, giving a nod of approval for his insane resolve. He acknowledges Rentaro's dedication, recognizing him as the true MC. With a silent gesture, the spirit permanently logs off, passing the torch and buffing Rentaro forward to take his place by Hahari's side. Rentaro snaps out of the stun effect. He finds Hahari's base model, still completely immobilized by the monstrous hair matrix. He rushes over, trying to initiate dialogue, but she's totally unresponsive, her mind still trapped in the glitch. Determined to reboot her system, Rentaro lands a desperate true love's kiss to break the curse. The grapple effect immediately drops, and for the first time since the event started, her eyes finally open. Her memory files restore, and the realization of the apocalypse she caused hits her with massive guilt damage. As she starts to break down, Rentaro drops a massive plot twist. The drug actually has a secondary effect that can literally patch the entire world. Back outside, Iku and Hakari are actually enjoying the tentacle grapple, totally vibing while bound. The rest of the squad realizes the hair has lost its grip, But suddenly, the entire mass of hair launches skyward, piercing the clouds and reaching straight for the dying sun. The hair burns up completely, transferring all its energy to reignite the solar flames, perfectly cancelling the Ice Age event and saving the server. With precise cuts, Rentaro slices away the excess hair, fully freeing Hahari from the monstrous ultimate she cast. Her stamina is totally depleted, and her knees buckle from the guilt debuff. Rentaro catches her, tanking the emotional weight of the moment. Back at Hahari's base, the vibes are still incredibly heavy. Mei and Hakari try to restore her morale with food buffs, but Hahari stays locked in her room, completely AFK. The guilt of almost wiping the server keeps her isolated from the guild. Knowing exactly how to clear this debuff, Rentaro spawns in for a surprise visit. He boots up a news stream showing the post-event stats. Despite the absolute chaos, there were literally 0 player casualties. In fact, the hair's auto-grapple actually saved countless NPCs from fatal fall damage and traffic accidents. And the ultimate plot twist, the hair burning in the sun literally patched the impending Ice Age bug, saving the entire planet. Rentaro tells Hahari she's the absolute MVP. He admits he was stressing over how to save his harem from the solar collapse, but Hahari literally speedrun the world-saving quest without even knowing it. Staring at him, Hahari realizes Rentaro is the true god-tier player here. It was his big brain strat to send the hair into the sun, and now he's carrying her through this guilt trip. Before she can process it all, the door bursts open and the entire guild floods the room. Surrounded by her party members, a massive warmth buff hits her heart. The guilt debuff completely clears, replaced by a maxed out love and gratitude stat, as she realizes she's permanently locked into this wholesome family. Sometime later, Mimimi decides to host a masterclass on beauty and makeup for the guild. When she drops the event invite, the reactions are mixed. Some players are hyped, especially Hahari, while others are a bit intimidated by the high-level tutorial. But Mimimi's charisma stat is maxed out, and they all accept the quest. Seeing his harem grinding their beauty stats, Rentaro decides he needs to level up his own base stats too. If they are min-maxing their builds, he can't just sit around as a casual. Motivated, he initiates a jogging side quest. While running his route, he spots a girl named Meme spade walking past him. He recognizes her NPC model from class, but she's always played a stealth build, avoiding all player interactions. She basically uses the invisible perk to stay completely off the radar. Suddenly, a massive wind event triggers, and Meme panics, frantically trying to keep her bangs covering her face. Even with her skirt physics going crazy, her only priority is protecting her face reveal. At that exact moment, the wind rips a massive signboard off a building, sending it flying straight for her hitbox. Realizing her reaction time is too slow, Rentaro executes a perfect dive tackle, pushing her out of the AoE right as the sign crashes past. The hazard despawns, and Rentaro quick stands to check her HP. But as Meme shifts her position, the wind blows her bangs back, exposing one of her eyes. Their eyes lock, triggering the Soulmate event instantly. The second she realizes the event triggered, Meme slams her bangs back down, completely rejecting the cutscene. After her panic meter drops, she quietly drops a thank you dialogue, apologizing for glitching out. She drops the lore that she has severe social anxiety and keeps her face hidden to avoid aggro. Rentaro listens, totally getting her stealth build, but he has to call out her misplay. She literally prioritized her bangs over dodging a lethal attack, which is a terrible survival strat. Meme takes massive emotional damage from the callout. But what really stuns her is that Rentaro actually remembers her username and treats her like a main character. She honestly thought her stealth skills made her a total background NPC. Learning that her attempts to hide actually made her stand out completely breaks her logic engine. She flashbacks to her childhood, where she tried to hide by wearing a Lucha Libre mask, which obviously just drew even more aggro. Rentaro feels super bad for her struggle. He drops a massive compliment, telling her it's a tragedy she hides because her eye textures are absolutely god tier. The realization that her face was completely perceived sends Meme into a total panic. Flustered beyond belief, she uses a smoke bomb escape, vanishing and leaving a small bear plushie as decoy loot. The next morning, Rentaro finds a random item drop in his shoe locker. It's a hand-knitted penguin plushie attached to a note. The message from Meme thanks him for the assist and explains she crafted the item to pay off her debt. Touched by the high-quality craft, Rentaro enters the classroom, ready to drop some positive feedback. But the absolute millisecond he enters her aggro radius, Meme speed dashes out of the room, leaving another plushie behind. Rentaro tries to initiate dialogue several times throughout the day, but every single attempt fails. She executes perfect evasive maneuvers, dropping a plush doll every time she vanishes. By the end of the day, Rentaro's inventory is completely maxed out with plushies. Determined to figure out her mechanics, he consults his guild, Nano, Shizuka, Hakari, and Karen. They confirm that despite Mime's stealth build, she is actually famous across the server. Server rumors claim her base beauty stats are insane, a theory backed by her parents having legendary tier designs. Hakari is especially hyped to learn that Mime allegedly has a G-Cup hitbox just like her. She instantly uses this info to flex on Karen, triggering massive Tsundia rage. While they PvP in the background, Rentaro compiles the data and analyzes the lore. He finally solves the puzzle. Mime has maxed out attractive stats, but she treats them like a massive debuff because she hates the attention. He realizes her beauty is actually the source of her anxiety debuff, causing her to constantly try and avoid aggro. Instead of equipping her high-tier looks, she uses her bangs as a physical firewall to block player interactions. Rentaro decides to change his approach entirely. Instead of chasing her down, he stands at a safe distance and uses the shout command. His voice is full of sincerity. He drops a massive apology for calling her cute, realizing that complimenting her stats just spiked her anxiety meter. Mime is hiding behind a wall, processing the dialogue. Unlike before, she doesn't instantly initiate an escape sequence. Just as Rentaro is thinking about using a more aggressive strat to pull her out, Mime slowly peeks her head around the corner. She quietly drops the ultimate dialogue line, confessing her love for him. But the absolute second she hits send, she freezes in pure terror, realizing she just dropped a massive lore bomb. Her embarrassment meter maxes out, and she instantly vanishes, leaving yet another plushie behind. Rentaro tries to track her movement, but her stealth skill is too high. Suddenly, Mime pokes her head out from a doorway right behind him. She drops the sickest lore. She's been using a misdirection skill she literally learned from watching Kuroko's basketball. By dropping the plushie as a decoy, she completely blinds the enemy's tracking so she can reposition. Despite her insane skills, she begs Rentaro to just delete the confession from his chat logs. She insists her build is completely unviable for the dating route. Her anxiety debuff is so strong, they couldn't even run basic couple quests together. She'd literally panic and crash during even the simplest interactions. But Rentaro refuses to clear the logs. He tells her he won't let her rage quit on her feelings, dropping the counter-confession that he's completely fallen for her too. Mimimi's face turns into a literal tomato, completely overwhelmed by the feelings she never thought would be returned. Her anxiety meter completely breaks, and instead of just getting flustered, her skill evolves. Before Rentaro can even open his mouth, she executes a perfect vanishing act, leaving zero trace she was ever there. After that, despite grinding the tracking skill, Rentaro literally cannot find her anywhere. The rest of the party starts getting worried. They know Rentaro was trying to buff her confidence and get her to appreciate her own base stats instead of hiding them. But it seems like his dialogue options actually drove her further into stealth mode. The narrator teases that this might be a bad ending for Mime's route, but Rentaro refuses to drop the quest. He refuses to abandon a party member. As the server transitions to evening, he keeps grinding the search, convinced she's still in the school zone. Rentaro activates his detective vision and realizes a crucial mechanic. She drops a hand-knitted plushie every time she vanishes, which means she has to be within melee range. If her escape speed is that high, she must be camping his blind spots, watching him the entire time. To test the theory, he executes a quick 180 camera spin. Exactly as predicted, she triggers the escape skill, leaving a fresh plushie drop. He tries the spin again, and the exact same animation plays. Determined to break her evasion loop, he starts spamming the quick turn, trying to catch her before the vanish animation finishes. His strat works flawlessly. The constant dodging completely drains Mime's stamina, forcing her to hide behind a curtain to regen her HP. Rentaro seizes the window, closing the distance and body-blocking her escape route. Using his reassurance skill, he tells her that it's totally fine to run a shy build while dating him. He drops the ultimate vow. No matter how high her stealth stat gets, he will always track her down because he wants her in his party. This dialogue successfully breaches her emotional armor, and she finally accepts the reality of her feelings. When he drops the official "Be My Girlfriend" prompt, she shyly hits accept, ready to test the dating meta with him. But before the victory music can play, a massive ripping sound echoes through the room. Mime freezes in absolute horror. In a single frame, her chest hitbox literally doubles in size. The intense evasion spam put way too much stress on her chest binder gear, and it finally snapped. Contrary to the server rumors of her being a G-Cup, her actual stats are way higher. The next morning, Rentaro officially drops the patch notes, introducing Meme as the newest party member. Sticking to her stealth build, she camps behind Rentaro's model, peeking out just long enough to drop handcrafted legendary loot for every single girl based on their specific classes. The girls are absolutely hyped, praising the S tier crafting skill. They spam her with compliment emotes, but the positive attention overflows her anxiety meter, forcing her to retreat behind Rentaro's hitbox again. Seeing her struggle with the social aggro, Rentaro proposes a server-wide event, a massive game of hide and seek. Hahari instantly buffs the stakes, declaring the MVP gets an exclusive kiss from Rentaro. Iku questions the logistics, worried that scanning the entire school map might completely drain his stamina, but Rentaro brushes it off. He drops a massive Chad line, declaring he'd search the entire world map if that's what it took to find them. With the rules set, the timer starts, and the girls have exactly 5 minutes to lock in their hiding spots. Rentaro starts the scan outside, completely oblivious to Iku and Mei, who are currently burning stamina clinging to a ledge right above him. They both picked the exact same hiding spot, assuming verticality was the best strat. But now their endurance bars are flashing red, arms trembling under the strain. Rentaro literally pauses right under them to trigger an NPC dialogue with the principal, while the two girls fight for their lives to not drop. Luckily, he finishes the dialogue and moves on before their stamina hits 0. Meanwhile, inside the storage room, Hakari and Karen are aggressively whispering in chat, having also picked the exact same spot. They dive into a single crate when they hear Rentaro's footsteps approach. The cramped collision boxes force Karen's face directly into Hakari's thighs, and Hakari has to bite her lip to stop from making suspicious noises as Karen squirms. The awkward tension completely maxes out. Eventually, they both rage quit the hiding spot, revealing themselves and taking the L. Since Hakari and Karen are now eliminated, they join Rentaro's search party to track down the rest. They push into the science lab, where their audio sensors pick up soft murmurs from inside a cabinet. Rentaro opens the loot box, revealing Kusari and Mimimi, who both fell asleep while camping the spot. Rentaro pauses the game for a second, just to admire the wholesome AFK animations. With Kusari and Mimimi added to the squad, the massive search party hits the library, hunting for Shizuka. Given her fear of the dark debuff, they assume she'd avoid the unlit storeroom in the back. But Rentaro checks it anyway, opening the heavy door to find a chaotic mess of books on the floor. Among the debris sits a completely normal-looking box that screams, "Suspicious prop." The squad approaches and lifts the lid, triggering a jump scare as two pairs of wide eyes stare back. Nano and Shizuka are perfectly frozen inside, looking like legendary loot discovered in a hidden chest. The dim lighting makes the whole encounter look like a surreal cutscene. Meanwhile, over in the cafeteria zone, Hahari and Kurumi made the exact same mistake of overlapping their hiding spots. The tight collision forces Kurumi straight into Hahari's massive hitboxes, an arrangement Hahari is clearly enjoying way too much. When Rentaro's footsteps trigger nearby, Hahari instinctively tightens her grapple, accidentally suffocating Kurumi in her chest. Kurumi panics, desperately struggling against the op grip. But then her passive triggers. The scent is sweet, reminding her of high-tier food. She instinctively lands a bite attack, causing Hahari to shriek and leap out of hiding, completely blowing their cover. As Hahari recovers from the bite damage, Kurumi tries to deny the friendly fire. With their spot compromised, they reluctantly join the massive search party. Suddenly, Nano's perception stat spots some weird puddles on the ground. Following the trail, she looks up and spots Mei and Iku dangling from the ceiling, their stamina completely flashing red. Their endurance hits 0 and they finally detach, entering a fall animation. But Rentaro and Hahari execute perfect catch maneuvers, saving them from the fall damage. With everyone else found, Meme is the only player left on the board. The squad is totally stumped because they've scanned every single viable hiding spot. Just then, the principal NPC walks by again, carrying a massive lost and found box. Mei has a galaxy brain realization. If Meme isn't camping a stationary spot, she must have equipped a mobile hiding strat. The squad blitzes the principal, demanding permission to inspect the loot box. They dig through the items and Rentaro spots one of Meme's signature plushies. But Meme herself is nowhere in the box. Rentaro narrows his eyes, shifting his aggro directly onto the principal. Something about her character model looks slightly glitched. Acting purely on instinct, He reaches into the principal's massive hair mesh and literally pulls Meme out. The principal sighs in relief, glad to be free of the random extra weight, and resumes her pathing to find more lost underwear. Harem watches her leave, seriously debating if she should hit the ban button on that NPC. With the timer stopped, Meme is officially declared the MVP. The squad spams her with praise emotes, which immediately triggers her escape reflex, sending her diving back into a hiding spot. She quickly realizes the game is over and shyly walks back into the celebration circle. Then the girls remember the legendary loot, the victory kiss. All eyes snap to Meme, who starts glitching out under the massive social pressure. She's totally stun-locked, wanting the reward but terrified of her own debuffs. She knows the exact sequence. The embarrassment will spike, triggering her auto-retreat skill the second they touch. The rest of the guild starts brainstorming physical traps to stop her from using her escape skill. But Meme is super confident that her evasion stats are way too high to be caught. Sensing her stress meter about to burst, Rentaro steps in to alter the quest parameters. He suggests running the interaction in a private lobby, removing the audience to lower her anxiety. The squad agrees to the terms, and with the event complete, they all prep to log off and head home. As the others leave the zone, Rentaro intentionally lags behind. The absolute second the area is clear, he executes a lightning-fast dash, landing a soft kiss before her brain can even process the inputs. Mimimi notices Rentaro is talking to thin air, and when she looks back, he's just standing there alone with a plushy drop. Rentaro is absolutely bewildered because this time, Meme activated her stealth skill without making a single sound. Cut to a brand new scene. Karen is camping in an open field, the wind physics rustling the grass. Rentaro finally spawns in the distance, sprinting toward her with a bright smile and an apology for his lag. Karen's romance meter spikes at the sight of him, but her Tsundia programming automatically overrides. She hits him with toxic dialogue, accusing him of making her wait and claiming she's completely done with his route. Her harsh words score a critical hit, and Rentaro's smile instantly deletes. His expression crashes as he questions if his save file is even worth keeping. Convinced the guild would have a better run without him, he turns his model around and starts walking away. Karen's Tsundia facade completely shatters. Pure panic floods her system as she reaches out, desperate to cancel the dialogue option, but her mic is muted. Rentaro despawns, and Karen wakes up with a massive gasp. It was just a nightmare cutscene. Sweating, she grabs her phone to check reality. Her lock screen displays a wholesome guild photo of her, Rentaro, and all the girls, proving her save file is fine. But the fear debuff from the nightmare is still lingering hard. Later at school, Rentaro gathers the party to reveal a massive loot drop. He scored a legendary set of snacks rumored to permanently buff couple happiness, suggesting they divide the loot into 12 equal pieces to share the exp. The girls smash the agree button, chatting and enjoying the wholesome event. But Karen is still stuck in her Tsundia loop, scoffing at the item and calling the lore fake. The nightmare cutscene is still playing on loop in her brain. Her guilt meter is heavy, realizing how easily her toxic dialogue could cause a bad ending with Rentaro. While the others consume the loot, Rentaro notices Karen isolating herself. Without hesitating, he walks over and offers her a piece of the snack with his signature wholesome smile. The prompt to respond normally is literally right there, but her toxic programming forces her to snatch the item and accuse him of trying to charge her gold for it. The instant the dialogue finishes, she deals massive mental damage to herself. She furiously berates her own AI, completely frustrated that she can't just act like a normal high-tier girlfriend. To try and fix the misplay, she impulsively shoves a piece of the snack directly into Rentaro's eye. Rentaro, being the absolute Chad he is, comically triggers a chewing animation with his eyelid. The rest of the guild is amazed by his broken physics, while Karen's shame meter maxes out. Harem notices Karen's tense posture and completely misreads the situation, assuming Karen is having growing pains. With a smug grin, Harem drops a teasing comment about Karen's flat hitboxes. Karen instantly enters rage mode. In a flurry of attacks, she forcefully jams a snack into Harem's mouth to cancel her dialogue. But the attack backfires instantly. Karen tries to issue an apology, but Harem is actually delighted because getting hand-fed triggers her degenerate romance buffs. For the rest of the day, Karen is trapped in her own head, questioning her rank in the guild. She spectates the other girls, jealous of how flawless their co-op interactions are. Even the newest recruits seamlessly join the party, laughing and running side quests with zero latency. Their synergy is perfect, while Karen is still glitching on basic interactions. Suddenly, Iku and Kusari steal the spotlight by initiating a random PvP sumo event. Iku's high-tier strength stat easily overpowers Kusari, whose competitive drive instantly flares up. Refusing to take the L, Kusari digs into her inventory to deploy a shape-shifting drug. But she's absolutely horrified when she realizes she accidentally swapped it for her Desire Under 5 drug, a visual that instantly locks Karen's aggro. And as Kusari absent-mindedly leaves the test tube, unguarded to resume her PvP match with Iku, the glowing blue liquid practically screams "interact" to Karen, triggering another brutal flashback of her nightmare and filling her with massive anxiety that she's destined to ruin her run with Rentaro. Convincing herself that if she chugs this buff, she can finally delete her Tsundia coding and stop pushing him away. So with trembling hands, she reaches for the forbidden item, totally undetected since the rest of the lobby is busy spectating the sumo match, where Kusari, still getting absolutely steamrolled by Iku's op strength stats, gets violently yeeted across the room, crashing directly into Karen, sending Kusari into an instant panic as she scrambles to apologize, knowing she just triggered a boss fight. Bracing for the inevitable barrage of insults and physical damage from Karen's legendary temper. But instead of raging, Karen stays completely chill, brushing off the hit and actually reassuring Kusari that she's totally fine, leaving Kusari completely stun-locked until she looks up and notices actual visual glitches hovering over Karen's head, prompting Kusari's massive brain to process the lore, realizing Karen actually consumed the Datsundia potion, a revelation that spreads through the guild like a shockwave, pulling everyone's aggro. And as they surround her, Karen continues dropping hypersweet, totally out-of-character dialogue options, making some players vibe with the new skin, while others get seriously creeped out by the lack of toxic banter. So Kusari seizes the moment to test her stats, boldly challenging the newly nerfed Karen to a sumo duel. And without her Tsundia rage buffs, Karen's physical strength is absolutely zero, getting instantly overpowered and dropping to the floor with zero resistance, letting Kusari pop off and flex her extremely rare victory, while Karen actually praises her opponent's mechanics, sending Kusari's ego straight to the moon. But Rentaro watches from the sidelines, heavily concerned. As the logic finally clicks, Karen's massive DPS was completely tied to her Tsundia class, and without it she's practically a level 1 NPC. Iku decides to run her own damage test to confirm the theory, equipping Karen with a bat and ordering her to launch a max power strike on her backside. And though totally confused, Karen complies, taking a full swing that lands with the impact of a wet noodle, dealing absolutely zero damage and leaving the masochistic Iku massively disappointed by the weak attack, officially confirming Rentaro's worst fears. With the tension spiking, Hahari steps in with a completely unhinged support strat, gleefully suggesting that kissing Karen might force a system reboot. But Hakari instantly blocks the play, declaring it totally toxic to farm kisses while Karen is suffering from a debuff. But as Hakari moves to body block, she accidentally squishes Karen directly against her massive chest assets, causing Karen to completely freeze up from the sensory overload, blushing furiously as she tries to dodge the interaction, until Hakari realizes she can exploit the glitch, literally grabbing Karen's hands and forcing them onto her chest, demanding an honest stat review. And with her Tsundia filter completely disabled, Karen timidly drops a glowing 5-star review on the softness and size, sending Hahari into a total rage as she accuses her daughter of being a massive hypocrite, while Mimimi jumps into the queue, eager to farm some honest compliments, asking Karen to rate her beauty stats, and Karen sincerely hits her with a max-level praise buff, which makes Shizuka and Meme seriously uncomfortable, realizing the guild is completely exploiting Karen's vulnerability for their own gain, stepping in to stop the abuse. But before they can cast a shield, Karen completely throws them off by asking to join their crochet side quest, leaving Shizuka and Meme totally stunned. But they instantly accept the request, making room for the normally aggressive girl to join their cozy crafting circle. And seeing her party vibing in such flawless harmony, Hahari gets hit with an overwhelming happiness buff, dramatically announcing she has ascended to pure nirvana before literally passing out on the floor. While Hakari watches the wholesome cutscene and declares that this version of Karen is actually the optimal build, though Iku counters that while she's undeniably cute, the OG Karen had way better mechanics, dropping wisdom by pointing out that her Tsundia coding was never a bug. It was just her unique dialogue system, and her toxic remarks and violent QuickTime events were exactly what made her a top-tier character. The rest of the squad realizes she's totally right, completely missing the fiery energy of the old Karen. And one by one, they all vote to restore her base stats, prompting Kusuri to declare she will speedrun a brand new antidote to reverse the effects, getting massive hype from the guild as they excitedly anticipate the return of their favorite tsundere. Until Karen completely shuts down the lobby, flat out refusing the rollback, admitting she actually hated her old build because every single interaction felt like a hardcore boss fight between her actual feelings and her massive pride. And right now, she's absolutely loving the freedom of picking honest dialogue options without constantly worrying about triggering a bad ending, dropping a truth bomb that completely stuns the entire party into silence, until Rentaro steps up, recognizing the massive emotional weight of her words, gently grabbing her hand and initiating a private walk event to talk it out. And as they stroll through the empty map, Karen marvels at how insanely easy it is to just be honest, openly admitting that holding his hand grants her a massive comfort buff, while Rentaro just listens like an absolute Chad, keeping his signature wholesome smile locked in, until he leads her to the garden zone right as the golden hour lighting hits, and hits her with the ultimate dialogue check, asking if she knows exactly why he fell for her. And without skipping a beat, he explains it wasn't just her beauty or kindness stats, it was literally her entire tsundere skill tree, explaining that her fierce determination, her raw passion, and even her aggressive outbursts were the exact mechanics that captured his heart, promising that if she truly wants to permanently lock in this new skin, he will support her 100%, but demanding she never trash talks her old self, because every single version of Karen is an absolute S-tier unit in his eyes. A speech so godlike it instantly breaks her emotional defenses, bringing tears to her eyes, and completely overwhelmed, she agrees to uninstall the debuff and return to her default personality, earning a massive, relieved hug from Rentaro for officially clearing the quest. Back in the lab, after 5 completely botched crafting attempts, Kusuri finally nails the RNG and produces the actual reversal potion, which Karen instantly chugs without hesitation, triggering a massive golden aura as Kusuri hypes up the visual effect, claiming it's the physical manifestation of Karen re-downloading her lost tsundere files, while the rest of the squad watches in awe, totally ready to welcome back their favorite toxic gamer. But when the animation finishes, the results are completely cursed, because Karen's hyper-sweet personality hasn't changed a single pixel, meaning the potion totally failed. But Rentaro refuses to take the L, promising to keep grinding until they find a working patch, and with the server time getting late, they decide to pause the quest and try again tomorrow. But they quickly realize a massive new problem. If Karen's parent NPCs notice her new behavior and find out she used a modded potion, it could trigger a massive game over event for the whole party. So since the antidote is bugged, the squad suggests Karen just manually fake her tsundere animations until they can fix it, but her acting stats are literally 0, and trying to force the toxic dialogue just looks like a horribly scripted cutscene filled with cringe insults and completely unnatural physics, forcing Harari to drop a big brain solution, having Karen sleep over at her mansion, arguing that since she and Harkari are canonically best friends, it won't trigger any suspicion from the parents. But Rentaro immediately senses the incoming chaos from Harari's wild mechanics and volunteers to join the sleepover, insisting he needs to act as a bodyguard, fully aware that Harari will try to exploit the sleepover for her own degenerate minigames. And exactly as predicted, Harari spends the entire evening launching relentless harassment attacks, but Rentaro perfectly blocks her aggro, eventually dumping her on Mei for a brief cooldown period, while he, Harkari, and Karen wait their turn for the bath. While chilling together, Harkari drops a massive lore dump, getting super nostalgic about the early game when it was just her and Karen carrying the whole party, looking at Karen with an insanely soft, out-of-character affection that completely melts her usual trolling vibe, which makes Karen incredibly conflicted. And catching her dropping morale, Rentaro steps in, grabbing her hands to provide a comfort buff, swearing on his life that they will restore her base files no matter what it takes, pitching a brand new strat, manually forcing a genuine tsundere reaction by spamming triggers. The logic being simple: if they farm enough tsundere energy, it might overload the system and reboot her original personality. Ready to initiate the test, Rentaro drops a max-level romance confession right to her face, which in normal gameplay would instantly trigger a barrage of insults and a guaranteed physical strike. But instead, the nerfed Karen happily bounces the confession right back, trapping Rentaro and Hakari in an infinite loop of wholesome dialogue, until Rentaro manages to snap out of the trance to refocus on the objective. So he escalates to physical contact, grabbing Karen in a tight bear hug, fully expecting to get shoved into the wall. But she just completely melts into the embrace, happily soaking up the warmth like a literal marshmallow. And Hakari, refusing to let them solo the co-op event, aggressively wedges herself into the hug too, forcing Rentaro to break the grapple in complete despair as he realizes the strat totally failed. His morale takes another hit when Hakari suggests a wildly NSFW tactic to force a reaction, telling Rentaro to literally grope Karen's chest, though her hidden motive is blatantly obvious since she's practically begging to be next in line. But Rentaro totally counters her play by equipping a pair of heavy mechanical gloves that completely nullify his touch sensors, leaving Hakari absolutely devastated that he read her moves and brought the perfect counter item. But when he actually attempts the grope, Karen reacts completely positively, spamming him with praise instead of the expected violent counterattack. So Hakari, pretending to offer a tutorial, aggressively demands Rentaro try the exact same move on her. But the literal second his metal gloves make contact, she completely folds, instantly admitting it feels amazing and totally ruining the demonstration. Realizing the grinding session is useless, they hit pause, and Hakari and Karen warp to the bath zone, where Hakari refuses to give up hope. Flashing back to all the times Karen's aggressive stats completely saved her runs, vowing to do absolutely anything to restore her best friend. But she immediately throws the plan by giving into her own degeneracy, groping Karen's chest and praying for a signature Tsundio explosion, only to get hit with another wave of pure, unfiltered bliss instead. Meanwhile, Hakari, who had been stealth camping the entire interaction, takes massive critical damage from the steamy Yuri cutscene, collapsing into a literal pool of her own nosebleed blood, where Mei and Rentaro discuss